The moon hung full and heavy over the forests of Pine River Territory. Lucas Gray stood at the edge of the rocky outcrop, his weathered face illuminated in the silver light. At 55, his body remained powerful, honed by decades as alpha, though silver now threaded through his once dark hair. The scars across his back and torso told stories of battles won and lost, some from Vietnam, others from 30 years ruling a pack that demanded strength above all else. The wind shifted, carrying scents from miles around. Lucas closed his eyes, letting his senses expand beyond human limitations. Pine, earth, water, but not what he sought, not her. Sophia had been missing for 3 days. Behind him, Marcus cleared his throat. At 70, the eldest council member was one of the few who remembered the days before Lucas became Alpha, one of the few who remembered Gabriel. "The council grows restless," Marcus said, his voice gravelly with age. "The child must be found." Lucas didn't turn. "She's 9 years old, Marcus. Scared and unable to control her shifts. Hunting her like prey won't help." "She is more than a child. She is the Alpha's daughter, the future of our kind." Lucas clenched his jaw. Always the burden of bloodlines, always the weight of tradition pressing down like a mountain on his shoulders, and now on Sophia's, too young to bear such expectations. "She ran because of the council's pressure," Lucas said, finally turning to face the old wolf. "Because at 9, she's being told her only value is in continuing our bloodline." Marcus stood his ground, leaning on his walking stick. His eyes flashed amber in the darkness. "It has always been this way. Without strong bloodlines, we weaken. Without discipline, we become nothing more than beasts in the woods." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Both men remembered what happened when control was lost. Both remembered Gabriel. "I'll find my daughter my way," Lucas said, voice low with authority. "The council will wait." He didn't phrase it as a request. 30 years as Alpha had taught him never to sound uncertain, never to reveal weakness. The pack respected strength and nothing else. His brother had taught him that lesson in blood. 2 days, Marcus conceded. Then we send trackers. Lucas nodded once, watching as the old wolf retreated down the path. When he was alone, Lucas allowed his shoulders to slump slightly. Exhaustion pulled at him. 3 days without sleep, tracking Sophia's scent until it vanished near the highway. The child was clever, using water and roads to mask her trail, just as he had taught her. Pride mingled with fear in his chest. His daughter was out there alone, possibly stuck in wolf form, unable to shift back. The thought of her frightened, hunted, vulnerable to those who would destroy what they didn't understand made his blood run cold. Lucas pulled the worn photo from his pocket. Sophia at 7, grinning wide, missing her front teeth, her mother's eyes staring back at him. Clara had died bringing their daughter into the world. Another sacrifice to the bloodline, another debt he could never repay. The moon pulled at him, urging transformation. Lucas resisted. Control had been his mantra since the day he became Alpha. Control was what separated him from Gabriel. Control was everything. He tucked the photo away and descended the rocky path to his truck. The scent trail had led south toward Pine Haven, the last place on Earth he wanted to return to, the place where everything had begun and everything had ended, the place where Olivia still lived. Morning light filtered through the pines as Lucas passed the faded sign welcoming him to Pine Haven. Population 4312. The number had barely changed in 30 years. Time moved differently in these forgotten mountain towns. His hands tightened on the steering wheel as memories assaulted him. Every curve in the road familiar yet strange, like a dream half remembered. The diner where he'd taken Olivia on their first date still stood, though the sign had changed. The old movie theater where they'd kissed in the back row had become a hardware store. But the forest remained eternal, the same trees that had witnessed his brother's fall from grace, the same moon that had shone down on blood spilled and lives forever altered. Lucas had avoided this place for decades, stayed away even when his father died, sending money for the burial, but refusing to return. Too many ghosts walked these streets, too many secrets buried in these woods. He pulled into the municipal parking lot and cut the engine. For a long moment, he sat motionless, wrestling with instincts that screamed for him to turn around, to flee back to the safety of Pine River territory, to his pack, his domain, where he was alpha and unquestioned. Here, he was just another man with too many regrets. The town had the quiet emptiness of early morning. A few cars moved slowly down Main Street. A postman arranged mail at the corner. Lucas stepped from his truck, straightening his leather jacket, conscious of how his presence would be perceived. A stranger, dangerous-looking, out of place. He caught his reflection in a storefront window. The years had weathered him, lines etched deep around his eyes, silver threading his dark hair and beard. He no longer resembled the young man who had left this town in disgrace 3 decades ago. Perhaps no one would recognize him. The scent hit him without warning, faint but unmistakable. Sophia, his daughter, had been here recently. Lucas followed the trail, moving with purpose now. It led him past the general store, around the corner toward the old Victorian district. His heart rate increased with each step, not from exertion, but from memory. He knew these streets, knew where the scent was leading him. Pine Haven Inn loomed ahead, its weathered beauty unchanged by time. 3 stories of faded grandeur, wrap-around porches, and gingerbread trim. Once the crown jewel of Pine Haven, now showing its age with dignity. And there, barely visible above the entrance, the Reed family crest. Olivia's family home. Lucas stopped dead, a growl building low in his chest. Of all the places in this God-forsaken town, his daughter had chosen this one. Had fate always been this cruel, or was it saving its best tricks for his twilight years? He clenched his fists, forcing back the wolf that clawed inside him. Control, always control. He had not survived 30 years as alpha by surrendering to impulse, had not survived Vietnam by giving in to fear. But this was different. This was Olivia. The memory struck with physical force. Olivia at 18, laughing in the summer rain. Her dark hair plastered to her face, eyes alight with joy as she pulled him into a dance in the empty street. The taste of her lips, the promises whispered in darkness. The future they had planned together. The future he had destroyed with a single choice. Lucas took a steadying breath, focusing on the present, on Sophia. His child was what mattered now. Not ancient history, not broken promises, just his daughter, lost and alone. The inn's front door opened as he approached, revealing a young woman with bright red hair and a professional smile. "Welcome to Pine Haven Inn. Checking in or just browsing our breakfast menu? We're famous for blueberry pancakes." The enthusiasm in her voice marked her as an outsider. No native of Pine Haven could muster such cheer before noon. "Checking in," Lucas replied, keeping his voice neutral. "Room for a few nights." "Perfect. I'm Abby Wilson, assistant manager. Let's get you sorted." Lucas followed her into the familiar lobby. The antique reception desk remained, though refinished in darker stain. Old photos lined the walls, telling the history of Pine Haven to visitors who rarely bothered to look. His eyes caught on one particular image, the town's centennial celebration, 1976. He had been there, 19 and in love, with Olivia on his arm, and the future spread before them like an endless road. "Name for the reservation?" Abby asked, fingers poised over a computer that looked out of place among the vintage furnishings. "Gray. Lucas Gray." "Great. We have a lovely room on the 2nd floor. Garden view. How long will you be staying, Mr. Gray?" "Uncertain. Business in town." Before Abby could respond, the sound of footsteps on the stairs drew Lucas's attention. He didn't need to turn, didn't need visual confirmation. The scent hit him first. Lavender and paint and something uniquely her, unchanged by 3 decades. His body tensed, every muscle coiled with the instinct to flee or fight, neither option available to him now. "Abby, Mrs. Henderson called about the breakfast room being too cold again. Can you adjust the—" The voice stopped abruptly. Lucas turned, facing the ghost that had haunted him for 30 years. Olivia Reed stood frozen on the staircase, one hand gripping the banister, as if it were the only solid thing in a world suddenly turned to water. At 38, she remained beautiful in a way that made his chest ache. Her dark hair was shorter now, brushing her shoulders instead of cascading down her back. Fine lines around her eyes spoke of laughter and tears in equal measure. She wore paint-splattered jeans and a simple blue sweater, an artist's smock tied around her waist. Time stopped, hung suspended between heartbeats. "Lucas?" Not a question. A statement of fact, delivered in a voice that trembled slightly despite its strength. "Olivia." His own voice sounded foreign to his ears, too rough, too revealing. Abby looked between them, confusion giving way to understanding. "Oh, you two know each other? That's wonderful." Neither responded. The gulf of 30 years and countless secrets stretched between them, unbridgeable. Olivia recovered first, always the stronger one, despite what the world believed. "Mr. Gray will want the blue room, Abby. 3rd floor, west wing." The farthest from her own quarters. Lucas noted the deliberate distance with a pang of regret he had no right to feel. "Oh, but I was going to give him the garden suite," Abby protested. "The blue room," Olivia repeated, her tone booking no argument. "And please let Cook know we'll need extra for breakfast tomorrow." She descended the final steps, moving with the same grace Lucas remembered. Stopping a careful distance away, she extended her hand. Professional, impersonal, a gesture between strangers. "Welcome to Pine Haven Inn, Mr. Gray. I hope you find your stay satisfactory." Lucas took her hand. A mistake. The contact sent electricity through him, wolf senses heightening the connection, making him acutely aware of her increased heart rate, the subtle catch in her breath. She felt it too, this unwanted current between them. He released her hand quickly. "Thank you. I'm sure it will be adequate for my needs." Olivia's eyes hardened at his deliberate coolness. "Abby will show you to your room. If you'll excuse me, I have business to attend to." She turned away, spine straight, shoulders set in a posture of rigid control that mirrored his own. The scent of her emotions lingered. Shock, anger, pain. And beneath it all, something he had no right to name. Lucas watched her disappear through a side door, taking part of him with her. Always taking part of him with her. "So," Abby said, her cheerfulness now forced, "how do you know Mrs. Reed?" "Ancient history," Lucas replied, ending the conversation with 3 syllables and a look that brooked no further questions. The blue room lived up to its name. Walls the color of faded denim, furnishings in navy and cream. Windows facing west toward the forest that bordered the town. Sparse but comfortable. Impersonal. Lucas stood at the window, watching the afternoon sun filter through pine branches. From this vantage point, he could see the edge of the forest where tragedy had unfolded 30 years ago, where Gabriel had lost control, where blood had been spilled and lives forever altered, where Lucas had made the choice that separated him from Olivia forever. He closed his eyes, memories flooding back with visceral clarity. His father's rage, Gabriel's broken body kneeling in the dirt, the council's unanimous decision, the ancient law that could not be broken. A wolf who kills a human must pay with their life. No exceptions, not even for the Alpha's son. Lucas had stood witness, 19 and horrified, as his father pronounced sentence. Had watched Gabriel accept his fate with dignity that belied his crime, had held Olivia the night before, promising impossible things, making plans to run away together. Then morning came, and with it, execution. Gabriel's eyes finding his in that final moment, the responsibility passing from brother to brother with that last look. And Lucas had chosen duty over love, had accepted the mantle of future Alpha, had left Olivia waiting at their meeting place while he stood beside his father as Gabriel's life ended, had never returned to explain, never said goodbye, simply disappeared, becoming the Alpha his father demanded, burying Lucas Gray beneath the weight of responsibility. A knock at the door pulled him from the past. "Housekeeping," a young voice called. "Not now," Lucas growled. "But sir, I forgot to leave fresh towels." Lucas moved to the door, irritation rising. He yanked it open, prepared to dismiss the intrusion. Instead, he found himself staring down at a boy of about 10, thin, with glasses too large for his face, and a mop of unruly brown hair. The child clutched a stack of towels nearly as tall as himself, peering up at Lucas with undisguised curiosity. "You're really tall," the boy observed, "and you look strong. Are you a wrestler or something?" Despite himself, Lucas felt his lips twitch toward a smile. "Or something." "Cool." The boy thrust the towels forward. "Mom said to give you these. She said the blue room always needs extra towels because the bathroom's huge." Lucas accepted the stack. "Your mother?" "Mrs. Reed. I'm Noah." The boy adjusted his glasses with one finger. "Are you really Lucas Gray?" The question caught him off guard. "Yes." Noah's eyes widened. "Wow, just wow, that's interesting." There was something in the boy's tone that put Lucas on alert, something knowing. Before he could question further, a scratching sound came from down the hall. Noah's head whipped around, panic flashing across his face. "I gotta go. Enjoy your stay, Mr. Gray." The boy bolted, moving with surprising speed for his gangly frame. Lucas stepped into the hallway, watching as Noah disappeared around the corner. The scratching sound came again, followed by a low whine that made Lucas's blood freeze in his veins. Wolf, young, female. He moved silently down the hall, following the sound to a door marked "Private, Staff Only." The scent hit him full force now. Sophia. His daughter was here, in this inn, just beyond this door. Lucas reached for the handle, then paused. A trap? A test? He expanded his senses, searching for threats, for the scent of hunters or weapons. Nothing but old wood, dust, and the unmistakable presence of his child. He turned the handle slowly, easing the door open. A storage room, shelves stacked with linens and cleaning supplies, and there, curled on a makeshift bed of blankets in the corner, a sandy-colored wolf pup. Wolf. Too large for a normal wolf cub, too small for an adult. The pup raised its head, amber eyes widening in recognition and fear. "Sophia," Lucas whispered. The pup whined, backing deeper into the corner. Her eyes darted to the door, seeking escape. Lucas moved slowly into the room, closing the door behind him. "It's all right," he soothed, keeping his voice low and gentle. "I'm not angry. I've been worried sick, but I'm not angry." He knelt on the floor, making himself less threatening. "Can you shift back, Sophia? Can you become human again?" The pup whined, distress evident in every line of her small body. Lucas's heart sank. As he had feared, she was stuck in wolf form, unable to control the transformation back to human. It happens sometimes with young shifters, especially under stress. "It's okay," he reassured her. "We'll figure this out together. I'll help you." He reached out slowly, offering his hand for her to scent. Sophia hesitated, then stretched her muzzle forward, sniffing cautiously. Recognition and relief flooded her scent as she confirmed what her eyes had told her. Father. Safety. Home. Lucas moved closer, running a gentle hand over her fur. "What have you gotten yourself into, little one? Why here of all places?" The pup couldn't answer, but nuzzled against his hand, seeking comfort she'd been denied for days. Lucas gathered her into his arms, feeling her small body tremble against his chest. Whatever had driven her to flee, whatever fear or pressure had pushed her beyond her limits, didn't matter now. She was safe, found, protected. "I've got you," he murmured, pressing his face against her fur. "You're safe now." The door swung open without warning. Lucas turned, instinctively shielding Sophia, a growl building in his chest. Noah stood in the doorway, eyes wide behind his glasses. "Please don't take Fang away," he blurted. "She's my friend. She needs me." Lucas stared at the boy, pieces falling into place. "Fang? That's what I named her. She was hurt when I found her in the woods. I've been taking care of her." Noah's chin lifted in defiance that reminded Lucas painfully of another child, long ago. She belongs with me now. Understanding dawned. Sophia hadn't run without purpose. Somehow she had found her way to this boy, this place, to Olivia's son. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. "She's not a pet, Noah," Lucas said carefully. "She's special." "I know," Noah replied, surprising him. "She's super smart, and sometimes she does things that regular wolves wouldn't do, but she needs me." Sophia whined, looking between Lucas and Noah with pleading eyes. Lucas felt her conflict, her reluctance to leave the boy who had shown her kindness. "You've been good to her," Lucas acknowledged, "but she belongs with her family." "You're her family?" Noah asked, suspicion evident. "How do you know she's yours? There are lots of wolves." Lucas weighed his options. The truth was impossible, yet something about this boy demanded honesty. "I know because I'm her father," he said finally, "and I've been searching for her for days." Noah's brow furrowed. "Wolves don't have human fathers." "No," Lucas agreed, "they don't." He left the implication hanging in the air. Noah was smart. He could see the boy processing, connecting dots no child his age should be able to connect. "Are you saying—" Noah began, then stopped, glancing at Sophia. Can she? Lucas stood, Sophia still cradled in his arms. "Some conversations are better had in private, Noah. For now, know that I appreciate your kindness to Fang, but she needs to come with me." "But she's scared to go with you," Noah protested. "She ran away for a reason." The accusation stung, partly because Lucas suspected it contained truth. What had driven his daughter to flee their territory, to seek refuge with this human boy in this place laden with history? What had the pack, the council, or even he himself done to make her feel she had no choice but to run? "That's between me and her," Lucas said firmly. "At least let her stay until she's better," Noah pleaded. "She was limping when I found her. That's why I brought her home." Lucas examined Sophia more closely, finding the bandage on her front paw he had missed in his relief at finding her. Crude but effective first aid, clearly applied by a child's careful hands. "You did this?" he asked Noah. The boy nodded. "I used the first aid kit from the bathroom. I cleaned it real good first, like they taught us in Scouts." Something softened in Lucas's chest. This child, this human boy, had shown more genuine care for his daughter than many in their pack would have, had treated her injury without fear or reservation, had given her shelter when she needed it most. "Thank you," Lucas said, the words coming difficultly to a man unaccustomed to gratitude, "for taking care of her." Noah's expression brightened slightly. "Does that mean she can stay, just for a little while?" Before Lucas could answer, footsteps approached in the hallway. Olivia's scent reached him seconds before her voice. "Noah? Are you bothering our guests again?" Lucas moved quickly, pressing Sophia into Noah's arms. "Not a word about me finding her," he whispered urgently. "I'll explain later." Noah nodded, wide-eyed, as Lucas stepped out of the storage room, pulling the door mostly closed behind him. He found himself face to face with Olivia in the narrow hallway. "Mr. Gray," she said coolly, "I see you've met my son." "Just getting acquainted," Lucas replied, keeping his voice level despite the thundering of his heart. "He was showing me around." Olivia's eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't believe him, but seemed unwilling to call out the lie directly. "Noah has chores to finish before dinner," she said instead. "Don't you, Noah?" The boy emerged from the storage room, carefully closing the door behind him. Lucas noted that Sophia remained hidden inside. Smart kid. "Yes, Mom," Noah mumbled. "I was just being friendly." "Go help Abby with the dining room setup," Olivia instructed. "Our weekend guests will be arriving soon." Noah glanced at Lucas, an unspoken question in his eyes. Lucas gave him an imperceptible nod. The boy seemed to understand, hurrying down the hallway without further protest. Alone in the narrow corridor, Lucas and Olivia faced each other. 30 years of unspoken words hung between them like a physical presence. He could smell the complex mixture of her emotions: anger, pain, curiosity, and something deeper, something she was fighting to suppress. "Your son seems like a good kid," Lucas offered, searching for neutral ground. "He is," Olivia agreed. "Smart, too smart sometimes, sees too much." Like his mother, Lucas thought but didn't say. "Are you really staying, Lucas?" Olivia asked abruptly, "or just passing through like last time?" The barb found its mark. He deserved that, and worse. "Business in town," he replied, keeping his voice neutral. "A few days at most." "Business," she repeated, disbelief evident in her tone. "In Pine Haven. There's nothing here worth the attention of someone like you." The words "someone like you" carried weight, implications Lucas couldn't fully decipher. Did she mean Alpha, Shifter, or simply the man who had abandoned her without explanation 30 years ago? "Sometimes business is personal," he said carefully. Olivia's eyes flashed. Don't pretend this is about us. You made your choice perfectly clear 30 years ago. You chose your family's business over anything we had." She knew, or suspected. How much had she pieced together over the years? How much had she witnessed that terrible night? "Olivia," he began, not knowing what he intended to say. An explanation, an apology, 30 years too late for either. "Save it," she cut him off. "Whatever you're here for, get it done and leave. This inn is my life, my home, my son's home. I won't have you disrupting it again." Lucas stepped back, giving her the space she silently demanded. "I never intended to hurt you." A bitter laugh escaped her. "Intentions mean nothing, Lucas. Actions are everything." She turned to leave, then paused. "The past is dead. Let it stay buried." She walked away, straight-backed and proud, leaving him alone with the ghost of what might have been. Later that evening, Lucas sat in his truck parked at the edge of the forest, watching the sun sink behind the mountains. Sophia lay curled on the seat beside him, having followed him out a back entrance when no one was watching. She remained in wolf form, unable or unwilling to shift back to human. "I know you can understand me," Lucas said quietly, "even if you can't respond. So listen carefully, Sophia. I don't know why you ran or why you came here of all places, but I'm not taking you back until you're ready, until you can tell me yourself what drove you away." The pup's ears perked up, surprise evident in her amber eyes. "Yes, that's right. I'm not dragging you back to face the council, not forcing you home until I understand." Lucas stroked her fur gently. "But we need to establish some ground rules. You stay close to me or Noah. You don't wander off, and you try every day to shift back to human form. Deal?" Sophia yipped softly, what passed for agreement in her current state. "Good girl." Lucas watched the lights of the inn glowing in the distance, thoughts turning inevitably to Olivia, to the pain in her eyes when she looked at him, to the life she had built without him, this beautiful old inn, restored by her hands, a son she was raising alone, a strength that had only deepened with the years. What would she think if she knew the truth? If she knew what had really happened that night 30 years ago? If she knew what he had become in her absence, what the weight of Alpha had done to the boy she had loved? Movement at the edge of the forest caught his attention. A man emerged from the trees, rifle slung over one shoulder, tall, rangy, with the weathered face of someone who had spent decades outdoors, late 60s, perhaps 70. Silver hair cut military short. The man paused, scanning the area with the alertness of a predator, gaze eventually settling on Lucas's truck. For a long moment they stared at each other across the distance. Recognition dawned in the older man's eyes. Not of Lucas personally, but of what he was, Hunter. Lucas had encountered enough of them over the years to recognize the look, the hatred, the purpose. Beside him, Sophia growled softly, pressing against Lucas's side. She sensed the danger too. The man raised a hand in what might have been greeting or warning, then continued on his way, disappearing down the road that led into town. Lucas memorized his face, his scent, his movement patterns, a potential threat to be monitored. "Something else we need to discuss," Lucas murmured to Sophia. "This town has hunters, real hunters, the kind that know what we are. So you be extra careful, understand? No running off alone. No shifting where anyone might see once you're able again." Sophia whined her agreement, eyes still fixed on the spot where the hunter had disappeared. Lucas started the engine, decision made. They would stay at the inn close to Noah, who seemed to be Sophia's chosen confidant, but on high alert. The hunter complicated matters, but Lucas had faced worse. Much worse. As he drove back toward Pine Haven Inn, memories washed over him in waves. The last time he had seen Olivia, 18 and beautiful, waiting for him at their secret place by the lake. The note he had left, cowardly words that explained nothing. "I can't. I'm sorry. Don't look for me." The years that followed as he transformed himself into what his father demanded: cold, controlled, alpha. The arranged marriage to Clara, a union of strong bloodlines. The guilt when he found himself caring for her, as if it betrayed his first love. The devastating loss when Clara died bringing Sophia into the world. 30 years of duty and discipline. 30 years of leading the pack, protecting their secret, ensuring their survival. 30 years of burying Lucas Gray beneath the weight of Alpha. And now, fate or chance had brought him back to where it began, to Olivia, to Pine Haven, to the ghosts he had never properly laid to rest. The inn's windows glowed warmly as he parked. Through one, he could see Noah setting tables for dinner, careful and methodical in his movements. Through another, Olivia bent over the reception desk, tallying accounts or making reservations. The domesticity of the scene made his chest ache with longing for something he had never allowed himself to want. "Come on," he said to Sophia, lifting her from the seat. "Let's get you inside before anyone notices you were gone." The next few days established an uneasy rhythm. Lucas spent his mornings in town, ostensibly looking at property, but actually tracking the movements of the hunter, who he learned was named Victor Stone. Local legend, decorated Vietnam veteran, owner of the largest sporting goods store in the county, widowed 30 years ago under mysterious circumstances. Lucas knew those circumstances weren't mysterious at all. Victor's wife had been Gabriel's victim. Afternoons found him at the inn, making minor repairs that Olivia reluctantly accepted. The ancient plumbing system, the temperamental furnace, the sagging porch steps, tasks that allowed him to stay close to Sophia while establishing a tenuous connection with Olivia. They circled each other warily. Olivia maintained a professional distance, civil but cool. Lucas matched her tone, never pushing, respecting the boundaries she established. Yet every interaction crackled with unspoken history. Every accidental touch sent electricity through them both. Noah watched them with undisguised curiosity, his clever eyes missing nothing. The boy had become Sophia's guardian, smuggling her food, keeping her hidden in his room or the storage closet. Lucas found himself impressed by the child's resourcefulness and loyalty. One afternoon, as Lucas repaired a leak under the kitchen sink, Noah appeared in the doorway. "My mom used to have a bunch of drawings of you," the boy announced without preamble. Lucas bumped his head on the pipe in surprise. "What?" "In her art studio. There's this big folder of sketches, all of you but younger. She tried to hide them, but I found them when I was looking for blank paper." Noah adjusted his glasses thoughtfully. "She was really good at drawing you. Got your eyes just right." Lucas slid out from under the sink, sitting up to face the boy. "Your mother is talented." "Yeah, she is. She could have been a real artist. Gone to college for it and everything. But then she had me, so she couldn't." The simple statement carried no self-pity, just acceptance of fact. Lucas studied the boy more carefully. Noah had Olivia's eyes, her intelligence, her quiet determination. But nothing about him resembled Lucas. Nothing to suggest. "Your father," Lucas said carefully. "He's not around?" Noah shrugged. "Never met him. He left before I was born. Mom doesn't talk about him much." Relief washed through Lucas, followed immediately by shame. What right did he have to feel relieved? He had forfeited any claim on Olivia's life 30 years ago. "That must be difficult," Lucas offered. "Sometimes," Noah admitted, "but mostly it's just me and Mom, and that's okay." He hesitated, then added, "She's lonely, though, even when she pretends not to be." Lucas found himself without response, thrown off balance by the boy's perceptiveness, by the glimpse into Olivia's life he'd been given. "Fang is getting better at changing back," Noah continued, abruptly shifting topics. "She did it for almost 10 minutes yesterday." "That's good," Lucas said, genuinely pleased. "She needs to practice shifting back and forth. It will become easier with time." "I told her that. I also told her she should talk to you instead of hiding." Noah's gaze was direct, uncomfortably so. "She's scared you'll be mad and take her back to where she doesn't want to be." "Did she say why she doesn't want to return?" "She said the old wolves there treat her like she's just a breeding machine." Noah stumbled slightly over the term, clearly repeating something he didn't fully understand. "She said they don't care about what she wants, just about continuing the bloodline." Lucas's jaw tightened. The council's obsession with pure bloodlines had grown worse since his father's time. Their treatment of Sophia as merely the next generation's broodmare, rather than a child with her own desires, had clearly pushed her to flee. "Thank you for telling me this," Lucas said, his voice rougher than intended. Noah nodded solemnly. "Fang is my friend. I want her to be happy." The boy turned to leave, then paused. "You should fix things with my mom. She pretends she hates you, but she doesn't. Not really." Before Lucas could respond, Noah disappeared, leaving him alone with thoughts too complicated to untangle. That evening, a thunderstorm rolled in from the mountains. Lucas stood on the covered back porch, watching lightning split the sky, breathing in the scent of rain and electricity. The storm matched his inner turmoil, the conflicting impulses that had grown stronger with each day in Pine Haven. Stay, go, speak, remain silent, reach for what he had lost, accept that some things could never be reclaimed. A soft sound alerted him to Olivia's presence before her scent reached him. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching him with an unreadable expression. "Storm's getting worse," she said. "The cellar floods if the gutters clog. I need to check them." Lucas glanced at the torrential downpour. "Not in this. You'll break your neck on that ladder." "It needs to be done," she insisted. "The antiques stored down there are irreplaceable." Without waiting for her permission, Lucas stepped into the rain. "Show me where." For a moment he thought she would refuse. Then she pointed to a rickety wooden ladder leaning against the side of the house. "East corner. The gutter there always collects debris." Lucas moved through the storm, rain soaking him instantly. The ladder wobbled as he climbed, but held his weight. At the top, he found the gutter clogged with pine needles and leaves. He cleared it quickly, efficient despite the driving rain and gusting wind. When he descended, Olivia waited under the porch overhang, a towel in her hands. She offered it wordlessly. Their fingers brushed as he accepted it, the brief contact sending warmth through his cold hands. "Thank you," she said, the words clearly difficult for her. Lucas nodded, drying his face and hair. "Old houses require constant maintenance. You've done well with this place." "It was falling apart when my grandmother left it to me," Olivia admitted. "Took everything I had to restore it, still taking everything I have to keep it going." "You always loved this house," Lucas remembered. "Even when we were kids, you used to talk about the renovations you'd make someday." Surprise flickered across her face. "You remember that?" "I remember everything, Olivia." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. For a moment, the mask of indifference slipped from her face, revealing the pain beneath, the questions that had never been answered, the goodbye that had never been said. "Why did you really come back, Lucas?" she asked softly, "after all this time?" Thunder rolled overhead, the storm reaching its peak. In the distance, lightning illuminated the forest where everything had changed 30 years ago. "I came for my daughter," he said, truth the only gift he could offer her now. "She ran away, led me here." Olivia's brow furrowed. "Your daughter?" "Sophia, 9 years old. unable to. He hesitated, uncertain how much to reveal. She's lost, scared, trying to find her way. Understanding dawned in Olivia's eyes. "You have a child," she whispered. "A family." "Had," Lucas corrected quietly. "My wife died in childbirth. It's been just Sophia and me since then." Olivia absorbed this, her expression softening slightly. "I'm sorry for your loss." "As I am for yours," Lucas replied. "Noah told me about his father." A flash of anger crossed her face. "Noah talks too much." "He cares about you," Lucas said. "Wants you to be happy." "I am happy," Olivia insisted, too quickly to be convincing. "I have my son, this inn. It's enough." Lucas said nothing, simply watching her in the dim light. Water dripped from his hair, running down his face like tears he would never allow himself to shed. 30 years of discipline, 30 years of control. And still, standing before her in the rain, he felt 19 again. Vulnerable, human. "It's never enough," he said finally. "Not when you've known what it is to be truly alive." Olivia's breath caught. She took a step back, as if his words had physical force. Just don't, Lucas. You lost the right to talk to me about truly alive when you walked away without a word." "I know," he acknowledged. "I didn't come back for forgiveness, Olivia. Or redemption. Those aren't mine to claim." "Then why are you here? Really?" Her voice broke slightly. "Why now, when I've finally built something stable for myself and Noah? Why come back and remind me of everything I've spent decades trying to forget?" Before Lucas could answer, a crash came from inside the inn, followed by a child's shout. They both turned toward the sound, the spell between them broken. "Noah!" Olivia gasped, rushing inside with Lucas close behind. They found chaos in the main parlor. A bookcase had toppled, ancient volumes scattered across the floor. Noah stood pressed against the far wall, face pale with shock. And there, in the center of the destruction, Sophia in human form for the first time since Lucas had found her, wearing an oversized T-shirt that must belong to Noah, her red hair wild around her frightened face. "I didn't mean to," she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was trying to shift back like you said I should, and then I knocked everything over." Lucas moved to her instinctively, gathering his daughter into his arms. "It's okay," he soothed. "Accidents happen." Olivia stood frozen in the doorway, staring at Sophia with undisguised shock. "Who is—" she began. Then understanding dawned. "Your daughter." "Of course." Noah rushed to Olivia's side, words tumbling out in panic. "Mom, I can explain. Fang is actually Sophia, and she's Mr. Gray's daughter, but she can turn into a wolf, which is really cool, but also scary sometimes, and she ran away because the old wolves where they live are mean to her, and—" "Noah," Olivia interrupted, her voice unnaturally calm. "Go to your room." "But Mom!" "Now Noah." The boy looked from Olivia to Lucas to Sophia, conflict evident on his face. Then he nodded once, squeezing Sophia's hand quickly before leaving the room. Silence fell. Lucas held Sophia protectively, watching Olivia process what she had seen, what she now knew. Her face cycled through emotions: shock, disbelief, understanding, and finally, a strange acceptance. "A shifter," she said quietly. "Like Gabriel." Lucas stiffened. "You knew." "I suspected." Olivia's gaze moved from Sophia to Lucas. "I saw things that night, things I couldn't explain, things no one would believe if I told them." Lightning flashed, illuminating the room in stark white. In that instant, Lucas saw beyond Olivia's composed exterior to the young woman who had witnessed horrors no human should have seen, who had pieced together the truth over decades of silence. "The wolf that killed Victor Stone's wife," Olivia continued. "That wasn't just any wolf, was it? And what happened afterward? What your father did to Gabriel? That wasn't just an execution for murder." Lucas felt Sophia tremble against him, confused by the tension and revelations. "Sophia," he said gently, "go find Noah. Stay with him until I come for you. His daughter hesitated, looking between the adults with concern. "Are you in trouble, Daddy?" "No, little one. Just grown-up talk. Go on now." When Sophia had gone, Lucas faced Olivia across the wreckage of the fallen bookcase. Thunder rolled overhead, punctuating the heavy silence between them. "How long have you known?" he asked finally. "I suspected that night," Olivia replied. "Confirmed it over the years. Little things. Reports of wolves where no wolves should be. The way your family lived apart from the town. The strange rules and traditions Noah mentioned hearing from Sophia." She moved closer, stepping over fallen books. "What I don't know, what I've never understood, is why you left without a word, why you couldn't trust me with the truth." The pain in her voice cut deeper than any physical wound. Lucas had faced hunters, rival packs, even death during his years as Alpha. Nothing had prepared him for the raw hurt in Olivia's eyes. "It wasn't about trust," he said finally. "It was about protection." Protection? From what? From me. From what I was becoming. Lightning flashed again, closer now. The storm directly overhead, mirroring the tempest breaking between them. "When Gabriel killed that woman, everything changed," Lucas continued. "My father executed his own son to maintain our secret, to uphold pack law, then named me his successor, the future Alpha. I had a choice that night. Stay with you and risk your life, or leave and accept my responsibility to the pack." "You didn't give me a choice," Olivia said, anger rising beneath her pain. "You decided for both of us." "Because I knew what you would choose!" Lucas's control slipped, his voice rising. "You would have chosen me, Olivia. Chosen to stay with me, despite the danger, despite what I am." "What you are," she repeated slowly. "And what exactly is that, Lucas?" He met her gaze directly. "A monster, when pushed far enough. A predator by nature, Alpha by blood and responsibility." Olivia shook her head, closing the distance between them. "No, what you are is a coward, too afraid to let someone love you, too afraid to be more than what your father demanded." The accusation struck with precision, finding the weakness in armor he had spent decades building. She had always seen through him, always known his truths before he could speak them. "You're right," he admitted, the confession torn from somewhere deep inside him. "I was a coward. I chose duty because it was easier than facing the possibility of losing you to the truth, of watching you fear me, hate me." "I could never have hated you, Lucas." Olivia's voice softened, the anger giving way to old grief. "Not even when you left without explanation. Not even when I realized what your family was. I just wanted to understand." She reached out, her fingers brushing his cheek in a touch so gentle it nearly broke him. "I just wanted you." The storm reached crescendo above them. Rain hammered against the windows. Wind howled through the eaves of the old house. And in that moment, 30 years of restraint shattered. Lucas pulled Olivia to him, his mouth finding hers with the desperation of a dying man granted one last breath. She responded instantly, arms winding around his neck, body pressing against his, as if trying to erase the decades that had separated them. The kiss deepened, evolved from desperate reunion to something more primal. Lucas felt his control slipping, the wolf inside him responding to her heat, her scent, the taste of her on his tongue. He broke away, breathing ragged, fighting for the discipline that had defined him for 30 years. "Olivia," he gasped, "we can't, it's not safe." She held his face between her hands, forcing him to meet her gaze. "I'm not 18 anymore, Lucas. I know what I want, what I'm risking." Her fingers traced the silver at his temples, the lines around his eyes, cataloging the changes time had carved into him. 30 years, she whispered. 30 years we've lost. I won't lose another moment to fear." The storm raged on, but within the walls of Pine Haven Inn, something broken began to mend. Something lost began the long journey home. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtains of the blue room, painting golden paths across rumpled sheets. Lucas woke with an unfamiliar sensation in his chest. Lightness. For the first time in 3 decades, he had slept without nightmares, without the weight of Alpha pressing down on him, without Gabriel's eyes haunting his dreams. Beside him, Olivia slept peacefully, her dark hair spread across the pillow, one hand resting against his chest. Lucas watched her breathe, memorizing the subtle changes time had wrought in her face. Fine lines at the corners of her eyes, a slight crease between her brows from years of worry. Still beautiful, still his, in ways he had never dared hope for again. The events of the previous night played through his mind, the storm, the revelations, Sophia in human form at last, and Olivia accepting truths that would have sent most humans running in terror or disbelief. Instead, she had pulled him closer, as if his nature were simply another part of him to embrace rather than fear. They had talked until dawn, filling in 30 years of absence. He told her about becoming Alpha after his father's death, about his arranged marriage to Clara, about Sophia's birth and Clara's death, about the weight of responsibility that had nearly crushed the boy she had known. Olivia spoke of her brief marriage to a charming drifter who'd left when he discovered she was pregnant, of building this inn from near ruins, of raising Noah alone. So much pain, so many years wasted. And yet here they were, finding each other in the ruins of what might have been. Lucas carefully extracted himself from the bed, moving with the silent grace of a predator. Olivia stirred but didn't wake. He dressed quietly, then paused at the door, allowing himself one last look at the woman who had somehow held his heart through 30 years of separation. Downstairs, he found Sophia and Noah huddled at the kitchen table, whispering intensely over bowls of cereal. They fell silent as he entered, exchanging guilty glances that immediately put him on alert. Sophia, at least, had maintained human form overnight, dressed in what appeared to be Noah's clothes, several sizes too large for her small frame. "Good morning," Lucas said, studying the children's conspiratorial expressions. "Morning, Dad," Sophia replied, her voice carefully neutral. "Mr. Gray?" Noah nodded, adjusting his glasses with one finger, in what Lucas now recognized as a nervous habit. Lucas poured himself coffee from the pot on the stove, leaning against the counter to observe them. "You two are up early." "Saturday cartoons," Noah explained. "Best ones are on before 7. "And what are you plotting now?" Lucas asked directly, seeing no point in pretending he hadn't noticed their secretive behavior. Sophia's eyes widened innocently. "Plotting? Us? Nothing." The denial came too quickly, too emphatically. Lucas raised an eyebrow, waiting. His daughter had never been skilled at deception, a trait he'd always considered a blessing. Until now. "We were just talking about school," Noah offered, coming to Sophia's rescue. "I go back on Monday, and Sophia was curious about what it's like." A plausible explanation, yet Lucas sensed there was more they weren't sharing. Before he could press further, footsteps on the stairs announced Olivia's arrival. She appeared in the doorway, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Her eyes met Lucas's across the kitchen, a hint of color rising in her cheeks at the memory of the night before. "Morning," she said softly. Lucas nodded, oddly tongue-tied in her presence. Decades as Alpha had taught him to command attention, to speak with authority that brooked no opposition. Yet one look from this woman reduced him to the awkward teenager he'd once been. Noah looked between them, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Did you two make up? Are you friends again?" "Noah," Olivia warned, but her tone lacked conviction. "Because if you did, that would be really great," the boy continued, undeterred. "Mr. Gray is super nice, Mom, and he knows how to fix stuff around here better than anyone." "Eat your cereal," Olivia instructed, but Lucas caught the smile she tried to hide as she turned to pour her own coffee. The domesticity of the moment struck him with unexpected force. This kitchen, these children, Olivia moving around him with casual familiarity. It felt dangerously like home, like the life he had never allowed himself to want or believe he deserved. "The front porch railing needs reinforcing," Olivia said, breaking into his thoughts, and the water heater's making that knocking sound again. I'll take care of it, Lucas replied, understanding the unspoken message. She was inviting him to stay, to be part of this place, if only temporarily. And the boathouse by the lake needs a new roof before winter, she added, not meeting his eyes. It's a two-person job at least. The implications hung in the air. The boathouse had been their meeting place as teenagers, their private sanctuary away from prying eyes. Now, she was offering it as a project, a reason for him to stay beyond the immediate crisis with Sophia. I'll check the lumber situation, Lucas agreed, his voice rougher than he intended. Might take a few weeks to finish properly. Sophia and Noah exchanged triumphant glances. Whatever they had been planning, this development clearly aligned with their goals. We're going to explore the attic, Sophia announced, grabbing Noah's hand and pulling him from the table. Noah says there might be treasure up there. No breaking anything, Olivia called after them. And be careful of the loose floorboards near the chimney. As the children disappeared upstairs, Lucas found himself alone with Olivia for the first time since dawn. She moved to the sink, rinsing her coffee cup with careful precision, avoiding his gaze. Olivia, he began, uncertain how to navigate this new territory between them. She turned, a hint of vulnerability in her expression. Is this a mistake, Lucas? Are we fools to think anything has changed? He crossed to her, closing the distance in 2 strides. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb tracing the delicate line of her jaw. The only mistake was leaving you 30 years ago. Pretty words, she whispered. But what happens when your pack calls you home? When your responsibilities as alpha pull you away again? The question struck at the heart of the conflict that had kept him awake in the pre-dawn hours. His duty to the pack, his growing feelings for Olivia rekindled after decades apart, the impossibility of reconciling these worlds. I don't know, he admitted, honesty the only gift he could offer. I only know I'm not walking away this time, not without explanation, not without fighting for what we could have. She leaned into his touch, eyes closing briefly. I've built a life here, Lucas. A good life for Noah and me. I can't risk that on maybes and some days. I'm not asking you to. Lucas hesitated, then continued. But there are things we need to discuss about what my being here means, about the dangers my presence could bring to you and Noah. Olivia's eyes opened, understanding dawning. Victor Stone. Lucas nodded grimly. Among others, the hunter is watching the inn. He suspects something, though he hasn't moved against us yet. And your pack? The council you mentioned? They'll send someone soon. Marcus gave me a few days to find Sophia, but their patience won't last. Olivia stepped back, arms crossing over her chest. So we're on borrowed time. Again. Before Lucas could respond, the phone rang. Olivia moved to answer it, maintaining the professional demeanor of an innkeeper, despite the emotional conversation interrupted. Pine Haven Inn, Olivia speaking. Her face hardened as she listened. Yes, he's my son. What happened? Another pause. I understand, I'll be right there. She hung up, concern etched across her features. That was the sheriff. Noah's been in some kind of altercation at the playground in town. He and another boy. They want me to come pick him up. Sophia, Lucas realized. She must have gone with him. They didn't mention her. They wouldn't. She would have hidden or run when trouble started. Lucas grabbed his jacket from the back of a chair. I'm coming with you. The drive into town passed in tense silence. Lucas reached across the seat, taking Olivia's hand in a gesture of reassurance. Her fingers tightened around his, accepting the comfort offered, even as worry radiated from her in waves. The playground sat on the edge of town, bordered by forest on one side and the elementary school on the other. Even from a distance, Lucas could see the small crowd gathered. The sheriff's vehicle parked nearby, lights flashing, and there, sitting on a bench, Noah with his glasses askew and a bloodied lip. Olivia was out of the car before it fully stopped, rushing to her son. Lucas followed more cautiously, scanning the area for Sophia. No sign of his daughter, but her scent lingered. She had been here recently. "Noah, what happened?" Olivia knelt before the boy, gently examining his face. "Tommy Wilson started it," Noah muttered, wincing as she touched his split lip. "He said things about you, about the inn." Sheriff Carson approached, nodding to Olivia. "Mrs. Reed." "Sheriff?" Olivia straightened. "What exactly happened here?" "Bit of a schoolyard scuffle from what we can tell. Tommy Wilson and a couple of his friends were giving Noah a hard time. Words were exchanged, then punches." The sheriff looked at Noah with grudging respect. "Your boy held his own, though. Gave Tommy quite a shiner." Lucas studied the other boy, sitting in his father's truck across the parking lot. 12 or 13, already bulky with adolescence, glaring out the window with undisguised hostility. His left eye was swelling impressively. "That's not like Noah," Olivia said, concern evident. "He's never been in a fight before." "Tommy's been bullying him for months," Sheriff Carson replied. "Maybe the boy finally decided enough was enough." "That's not what happened," Noah insisted, looking up at Lucas rather than his mother. "Tommy pushed me down and was going to hit me when Sophia jumped out and scared him." Lucas tensed. "Sophia?" Noah nodded. "She didn't hurt him or anything. She just growled real loud and showed her teeth. Then when Tommy tried to kick her, I got mad and punched him." The sheriff frowned. "Sophia? I didn't see any little girl here, just the boys." "My dog," Noah said quickly. "I named her Sophia. She ran off when everyone came." Lucas exchanged a glance with Olivia. Sophia must have shifted to wolf form to defend Noah, then fled when adults arrived. The risk she had taken made his blood run cold. If she had been seen transforming— "We'll discuss this at home," Olivia told Noah firmly. "Thank you, Sheriff. I'm sorry for the trouble." "Boys will be boys," Sheriff Carson said with a shrug. "No charges being pressed on either side. Just keep him out of trouble, Mrs. Reed." As they walked back to the car, Lucas spotted a familiar figure watching from the edge of the forest. Victor Stone stood partially concealed by trees, rifle slung casually over one shoulder, observing the scene with predatory intensity. Their eyes met across the distance. This time Victor didn't acknowledge him, merely continued watching with calculated coldness. Lucas guided Olivia and Noah to the car, keeping his body between them and the hunter's line of sight. "Drive straight home," he instructed quietly. "I'll meet you there. I need to find Sophia." "Lucas," Olivia began, concern evident. "It's all right. I just need to make sure she's safe, that she didn't—" He didn't complete the thought. Didn't need to. Olivia understood the risk as well as he did. Once they had driven away, Lucas headed for the forest, following Sophia's scent trail. She hadn't gone far, just deep enough into the trees to avoid human discovery. He found her huddled in wolf form beneath a fallen log, trembling slightly. "Sophia," he called softly. The pup crawled out, head low in submission or shame, he couldn't tell which. Lucas knelt, opening his arms. She came to him hesitantly, as if expecting punishment. "Are you hurt?" he asked, examining her carefully. She shook her head, amber eyes fixed on his face, watching for anger. "Can you shift back? We need to talk, and I need you to be able to answer me." Sophia whined, then concentrated. The transformation came more easily this time, her small human form appearing where the wolf had been moments before. She huddled in the oversized clothes Noah had apparently given her to wear under her wolf form, her expression a mixture of defiance and fear. "I had to help him, Daddy," she said before he could speak. "Tommy was going to hurt Noah really bad. He had his friends with him and everything." "You risked exposure," Lucas said gravely. "If anyone had seen you shift—" "I was careful. I made sure no one was watching when I changed to wolf, and I ran away as soon as other people came." "That's not the point, Sophia." Lucas struggled to keep his voice level. "One mistake, one moment of carelessness. That's all it would take to endanger not just yourself, but our entire pack. Everything I've worked to protect for 30 years. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. "But Noah's my friend, my only real friend. The pack kids are all afraid of me because I'm the alpha's daughter, and the council treats me like I'm just a breeding machine for the next generation. Noah treats me like a normal person." The raw hurt in her voice pierced Lucas's anger. This was why she had run away. Not adolescent rebellion or inability to control her shifts, but loneliness. The isolation that came with being the Alpha's daughter. The burden he had placed on her without realizing. "I understand wanting to protect your friend," he said more gently, "but there are safer ways, Sophia. Ways that don't risk everything we are." She looked up at him, a hint of her mother's defiance in her expression. "Would you have let Noah get hurt? If you'd been there instead of me?" The question struck him with unexpected force. What would he have done? The Alpha in him, trained for decades to protect the pack above all else, knew the correct answer. Stand aside, let humans deal with human problems, never risk exposure. But the man beneath the Alpha, the man Olivia was slowly awakening from his long slumber, knew he would have intervened, would have protected the boy who had shown kindness to his daughter, who had brought light back to Olivia's eyes. "That's not the issue," he evaded, unwilling to acknowledge the truth even to himself. "It is," Sophia insisted with the clarity of youth. "You always say our first duty is to protect our own. Noah is mine to protect. He saved me when I was hurt in the forest. He kept me safe when I couldn't shift back. He's pack now, even if he's human." Lucas stared at his daughter, seeing her clearly perhaps for the first time. Not just a child to be protected and guided. Not just the next in a bloodline stretching back generations, but a person with her own values, her own definition of loyalty, her own understanding of what it meant to be Wolf. "Come on," he said finally, holding out his hand. "Let's go home." Sophia hesitated. "Are you mad at me?" "No," Lucas sighed. "Just worried. Always worried." "That's what being a dad is, I guess," Sophia said, taking his hand. "Being worried all the time." Lucas smiled despite himself. Something like that. They had nearly reached the edge of the forest when Lucas sensed they were being watched. He stopped, pulling Sophia behind him protectively. A moment later, Victor Stone emerged from the trees ahead, blocking their path. His rifle remained casually slung over one shoulder, but the threat was implicit. "Mr. Gray?" The older man greeted him, his voice as weathered as his face. "Taking a nature walk?" "Mr. Stone." Lucas kept his voice neutral, body tense and ready. "Just looking for my daughter. Found her exploring a bit too far from the inn." Victor's gaze moved to Sophia, who pressed closer to Lucas's side. "Pretty girl. Looks like her father." His focus returned to Lucas, eyes hard and knowing. "Interesting timing, your arrival in Pine Haven. Just when there have been reports of wolves in the area. Wolves where no wolves should be." "I wouldn't know about that," Lucas replied evenly. "I'm here on business." "Business," Victor repeated, the word dripping with skepticism. 30 years after Gabriel Gray tore my wife's throat out in these very woods. Quite a coincidence. Lucas's blood ran cold. So Victor knew who he was, knew about Gabriel, knew, or at least suspected, what they were. "I'm sorry about your wife," Lucas said carefully. "It was a tragedy that affected many lives." "A tragedy," Victor echoed, fingers tapping against the stock of his rifle. "Is that what you call it? I call it murder. I call it an abomination pretending to be human until the beast inside showed its true nature." Sophia's hand tightened in Lucas's, fear radiating from her in waves. He squeezed back reassuringly. "My condolences for your loss," Lucas said, sidestepping to move past the hunter. "But my daughter and I should be getting back. Her mother will be worried." "Her mother?" Victor's eyebrows rose. "Interesting. I was under the impression you were staying at Pine Haven Inn with Olivia Reed, the woman your brother was meeting the night he killed my Caroline." The accusation hung in the air between them, loaded with implication and threat. Lucas maintained his composure through decades of discipline, though internally his wolf raged at the danger to Sophia, to Olivia. "You're mistaken," Lucas said flatly. "Now, if you'll excuse us." "Pine Haven isn't a place for wolves, Mr. Gray," Victor called after them as they walked away. Never has been. Some of us remember what happened last time one of your kind came here. Some of us are prepared this time." Lucas didn't respond, maintaining a deliberately human pace until they were well out of the hunter's sight. Then he lifted Sophia into his arms and moved with preternatural speed through the forest, taking an indirect route back to the inn to ensure they weren't followed. Victor Stone was more dangerous than he had initially assessed. The man didn't just suspect, he knew. And he had been waiting, perhaps for decades, for the wolves to return so he could exact his revenge. They reached the inn by mid-afternoon, entering through the back door to avoid being seen by guests. Lucas found Olivia in the kitchen, preparing dinner, tension evident in the rigid set of her shoulders. Noah sat at the table, homework spread before him despite it being Saturday, his split lip still swollen. "Sophia," Noah exclaimed when they entered, relief washing over his face. "You're okay." "Of course I am," Sophia replied with false bravado, though she remained close to Lucas's side. "It takes more than Tommy Wilson to scare me." Olivia turned, relief softening her features at the sight of them. "Thank God. I was beginning to worry." "We had a delay," Lucas said, guiding Sophia to sit beside Noah. "Victor Stone was in the forest." Olivia paled slightly. "Did he—" "He knows who I am," Lucas confirmed grimly. "Knows about Gabriel, suspects about us." Noah looked between them, confusion evident. "Who's Victor Stone, and what does he know about you?" Olivia and Lucas exchanged glances. How much to tell the boy? How much could he understand or be expected to keep secret? "Victor is a hunter," Lucas said carefully. "A dangerous man who holds a grudge against my family." "Because of what happened with your brother," Noah said, surprising them. "The thing that happened in the woods 30 years ago that no one talks about, but everyone knows happened." "How do you know about that?" Olivia asked sharply. Noah shrugged. "Kids at school talk. They say the Reed family is cursed because of what happened in our woods. That's part of why Tommy picks on me." He adjusted his glasses. "Plus, old Mrs. Wilson at the library always watches me weird, like she's waiting for me to do something bad. Tommy says it's because my mom was involved with the Gray brothers before one of them went crazy and killed someone." The simple recitation of town gossip struck Lucas like a physical blow. All these years, he had believed the secret well kept, that his father's swift and brutal justice had protected the pack from exposure. Yet here was a child repeating rumors that contained too much truth to be dismissed. "People talk without knowing facts," Olivia said, her voice strained. "What happened back then was complicated, a terrible accident that affected many lives." "But it wasn't an accident, was it?" Noah pressed, looking at Lucas. "It has something to do with you being able to turn into wolves, like Sophia can." Silence fell in the kitchen. Lucas studied the boy's intelligent face, seeing no fear there, only curiosity, only the desire to understand. "No," Lucas admitted finally. "It wasn't an accident. My brother Gabriel lost control of his wolf. He killed Victor Stone's wife, and my father, as Alpha, executed him for that crime according to pack law." Noah's eyes widened. "Your father killed your brother?" "Noah!" Olivia exclaimed. "That's enough questions for now." "It's all right," Lucas said quietly. "He deserves to know what he's caught up in." He turned back to Noah. "Yes, my father executed Gabriel to uphold pack law and protect our secret. Then he made me Alpha, after him." "That's why you left Mom," Noah said, understanding dawning. "You had to go be the Alpha." Lucas nodded, surprised by the boy's perception. "I made a choice I've regretted every day since. I chose duty over love because I believed it was the only way to protect Olivia from what happened to Caroline Stone." "But you came back," Noah pointed out. "You're here now." "Yes," Lucas agreed. "I am." The simple acknowledgement hung in the air between them, weighted with possibilities neither he nor Olivia were prepared to voice aloud. The tenuous reconciliation, the growing connection, the unspoken future that might still be possible if they were brave enough to reach for it. "So what do we do about Victor Stone?" Sophia asked, breaking the moment. "If he knows about us, are we in danger?" Lucas turned to his daughter. impressed by her focus on the practical threat rather than dwelling on the painful past. "We're careful, we stay together, and we prepare for the Council's arrival, which will complicate matters further." "They're really coming?" Sophia's face fell. "But I don't want to go back, Daddy. I want to stay here with Noah and Olivia." "I know, little one." Lucas moved to crouch beside her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. "But there are responsibilities we can't simply walk away from. The pack needs its alpha." "Then make someone else alpha," Sophia burst out. "You're always talking about duty and responsibility, but what about being happy? What about what we want?" The outburst hung in the air, raw and painful in its honesty. Lucas had no answer that wouldn't sound like the same platitudes he had been feeding himself for decades, the same justifications for choices that had left him powerful but hollow. "Why don't you kids go upstairs for a while?" Olivia suggested gently. "Lucas and I need to talk." The children departed reluctantly, Sophia casting one last pleading look at her father before following Noah. When they were alone, Olivia leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed defensively. "She's right, you know," she said softly. "There's always a choice, even when it doesn't feel like it." Lucas stood, pacing the confines of the kitchen with restless energy. "You don't understand what's at stake. The pack needs a strong alpha, someone to protect them, lead them." "And that can only be you?" Olivia challenged. "After 30 years, hasn't someone else proven worthy? Someone who could take over if you chose a different path?" "It's not that simple. The bloodline—" "The bloodline," Olivia interrupted. "Always the bloodline. The same excuse that drove Sophia away in the first place. The same burden that's been crushing you since you were 19 years old." Lucas stopped pacing, turning to face her. "What would you have me do, Olivia? Abandon my responsibilities? Turn my back on 30 years of sacrifice? For what?" "For the chance to live, Lucas. Not just exist, but live." Olivia moved closer, reaching up to cup his face between her hands. "For the chance to know what it is to be loved again, to have a family that doesn't view you as merely a link in some ancient chain." Her words struck with devastating accuracy, finding the doubt he had buried deep beneath layers of duty and control, the longing for something simpler, something human, something real. "It's not just about us," he said, though his resolve weakened with every moment of her touch. "There's Sophia to consider, and Noah, the danger my presence brings to your lives." "We'll face that together," Olivia insisted. "Find a way through it together." She hesitated, then added softly, "If you want to." "Want." The vulnerability in those last words undid him. Lucas pulled her close, breathing in the scent that had haunted his dreams for 30 years. "I want to," he whispered against her hair. "God help me. I want to." 3 days passed in a strange, suspended peace. Lucas continued repairing the inn, now with Sophia's enthusiastic if unskilled assistance. The girl had finally mastered shifting back and forth at will, though Lucas insisted she remain in human form while at the inn to avoid accidental discovery by guests. Olivia painted more than she had in years, inspiration flowing as if a dam had broken inside her. Lucas often found her in her studio, brush in hand, face serene with creative focus. She refused to let him see the works in progress, shooing him away with paint-spattered hands and promises of revelation when the time was right. Noah continued showing Sophia around Pine Haven, carefully avoiding areas where they might encounter Victor Stone or his son Tommy. The children grew closer each day, their bond strengthening through shared secrets and adventures. In the evenings, the 4 of them gathered in the inn's private quarters, sharing meals and stories. Lucas found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't since childhood, the constant vigilance of Alpha softening in the warmth of this makeshift family. He told tales of the pack's history that made the children's eyes widen with wonder. Olivia shared her grandmother's stories of Pine Haven in its heyday, when the inn hosted presidents and movie stars. They were building something fragile and precious and entirely unexpected, something that felt dangerously like hope. On the 4th morning, Lucas woke before dawn, a sense of unease pulling him from sleep.
He slipped from bed, careful not to wake Olivia, and moved to the window. The forest beyond the inn lay shrouded in pre-dawn mist, seemingly peaceful, yet his instincts screamed warning.
He dressed quickly and made his way downstairs. The lobby was silent, guests still sleeping. Lucas stepped outside onto the front porch, scanning the tree line with senses far sharper than human. They emerged from the mist like ghosts. 3 figures moving with preternatural grace across the lawn toward the inn. Marcus in the lead, flanked by 2 younger wolves Lucas recognized as enforcers from the council guard. They stopped at the edge of the property, waiting for acknowledgement from their alpha. Lucas descended the steps to meet them, maintaining a deliberately casual pace. No need to confirm their supernatural nature to any watching eyes. He kept his voice low when he reached them, though his tone carried alpha authority. "Marcus, I didn't summon you." The council grew impatient. The old wolf replied, his gaze moving past Lucas to the inn. "You found the girl. It's time to return her to the pack." "She's safe. Recovering. I'll bring her home when she's ready." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "When she's ready? Or when you're ready to leave this distraction?" He gestured toward the inn with undisguised disdain. "We know who lives here, Lucas. Who you've been spending your time with. History repeating itself." Anger flared hot in Lucas's chest, his wolf stirring beneath the surface. "Careful, old friend. Even you are not beyond my reach if you overstep." The warning had its intended effect. Marcus lowered his eyes slightly, a gesture of submission, though his words remained challenging. "The council sent us to remind you of your duties, of pack law." He nodded to one of the enforcers, who produced a sealed envelope. "A formal summons. You and the girl are to return immediately for a hearing on her behavior and your absence." Lucas took the envelope without opening it, knowing its contents would only fuel his rage. "Tell the council I acknowledge their concerns. We will return when matters here are settled." "And when might that be?" Marcus pressed. "The full moon approaches. The pack needs its alpha present for the ritual hunt." "I'm aware of the calendar," Lucas replied coldly. "The pack will not be left leaderless, but neither will I abandon my daughter before she's ready to return." Marcus studied him, decades of friendship allowing him to read between the lines of Lucas's formal response. "You've changed since coming here," he said quietly. "The human woman. She's affecting your judgment." "My judgment is clear for the first time in 30 years, Lucas countered. "Now go. Tell the council I've received their message. Further pressure will only delay our return." The old wolf hesitated, then nodded once in reluctant acceptance. He turned to leave, then paused. "She can't give you what you need, Lucas. What the pack needs. She's human, an outsider. Remember what happened last time one of our kind tried to bridge that gap." Lucas maintained his composure until the 3 wolves had disappeared into the forest. Then he allowed his control to slip, just enough to release the growl building in his chest. The council's interference was predictable but unwelcome. Their timing, with Victor Stone already circling, could not have been worse. He turned back toward the inn, only to find Sophia standing on the porch, watching him with solemn eyes. She had witnessed the entire exchange, though she had remained out of sight of the council representatives. "They want us to go back," she said as he approached. Not a question. "Yes," Lucas confirmed, seeing no point in shielding her from the truth. "The council has formally summoned us to a hearing." Sophia's expression hardened, with a determination too adult for her 9 years. "I won't go. They can't make me." "Sophia," Lucas sighed, climbing the steps to join her on the porch. "It's complicated. The pack needs structure, leadership. The council enforces traditions that have kept our kind safe for generations." "Safe but miserable," Sophia countered. "Safe but lonely. What good is being safe if you're not happy, Daddy?" The question echoed Olivia's words from days earlier, the same challenge to the foundations upon which he had built his life as Alpha, the same fundamental truth he had been avoiding for decades. "What would make you happy, Sophia?" he asked finally. His daughter looked up at him, surprised by the direct question. "Staying here," she answered without hesitation. "With Noah and Olivia, going to real school, Having friends who aren't afraid of me because I'm the Alpha's daughter. And you being happy too, Daddy. Not just doing your duty all the time." The simple answer contained wisdom that shamed him. His child had seen with perfect clarity what he had been blind to, that duty without joy was merely existence, not life. That leadership without love was merely power, not purpose. "I can't promise that," Lucas said honestly, "but I promise to consider what you've said, to look for a way forward that honors both our responsibilities and our hearts." Sophia studied him skeptically, clearly accustomed to adult promises that prioritize duty over happiness. But she nodded, accepting his words as the best he could offer in the moment. "They'll come back, won't they?" she asked. "Yes," Lucas confirmed, "with or without our cooperation. The Council doesn't take defiance lightly, even from the Alpha." "What will we do?" Lucas looked toward the forest where Marcus had disappeared. "We prepare. We make contingency plans, and we protect those we care about, no matter the cost." The sound of a car coming up the drive ended their conversation. Lucas tensed, recognizing the vehicle as the one Victor Stone had been driving days earlier. The hunter parked in front of the inn, climbing out with deliberate casualness that didn't mask the predatory assessment in his eyes. "Inside," Lucas told Sophia quietly. "Find Noah and stay with him until I come for you." She nodded, slipping through the door as Victor approached the porch. Lucas positioned himself at the top of the steps, blocking the hunter's path to the inn's entrance. "Mr. Stone," he greeted the older man with deliberate neutrality. "What brings you to Pine Haven Inn?" "Information," Victor replied, stopping at the foot of the stairs. "Thought Mrs. Reed might be interested in some local history. Family history, you might say." The implied threat wasn't subtle. Lucas maintained his composure, though internally his wolf raged at the danger this man presented to Olivia, to the children. "Olivia is busy with guests this morning," Lucas said. "Perhaps another time." Victor smiled thinly. "I'm happy to wait. Or maybe you'd like to discuss it instead. Gray family history is fascinating, especially the parts about what happened in these woods 30 years ago." He patted the pocket of his hunting jacket. "I've got newspaper clippings, police reports, even a few personal observations that never made the official record." Lucas descended the steps slowly, bringing himself to eye level with the hunter, close enough to intimidate, not so close as to appear threatening. "Say what you came to say, Victor." The older man's smile faded. "I know what you are, Gray. What your brother was. What got my Caroline killed." "You have my condolences for your wife," Lucas replied evenly. "But if you're implying something beyond a tragic animal attack, I suggest you consider how such claims might be received." "Oh, I have considered it." Victor's hand moved to rest casually near the concealed weapon Lucas knew he carried. "For 30 years I've considered it, researched it, prepared for the day wolves return to Pine Haven." "Wolves are protected species in these mountains," Lucas said, deliberately misunderstanding. "Not the kind I hunt." Victor leaned closer, voice dropping to a near whisper. "Silver bullets, wolfsbane, old remedies for old problems. I've spent decades collecting the tools necessary to finish what your father started when he executed Gabriel." The revelation that Victor knew even this detail sent ice through Lucas's veins. The execution had been witnessed only by pack members. How much information had leaked over the years? How extensive was the hunter's knowledge? "Careful, Victor," Lucas warned softly. "Making threats based on folklore and fairy tales might lead somewhere you're not prepared to go." "I'm prepared," the hunter assured him, steel in his voice. "More than prepared. I've waited 30 years for justice, for the chance to look an alpha in the eyes before ending his line." His gaze moved to the inn. "Though I must admit, I didn't expect to find history repeating itself quite so literally. Another Gray, another Reed woman. Let's hope this one doesn't end up collateral damage in wolf business." The thinly veiled threat to Olivia broke Lucas's control. He moved with inhuman speed, one hand closing around Victor's throat, lifting the older man slightly off his feet. "Listen carefully," Lucas growled, eyes flashing amber. Whatever grudge you hold against my family, whatever theories you've concocted about what happened to your wife, end it now. Walk away. Live out your remaining years in peace. Because if you threaten what's mine again, folklore and fairy tales will become your worst nightmare." He released Victor, who staggered back, hand going to his throat. But fear wasn't the dominant emotion in the hunter's eyes. It was triumph. "There he is," Victor rasped. "The beast behind the man, just like Gabriel before the mask slipped completely." He straightened, adjusting his jacket with deliberate calm. "You've shown your true nature, Alpha. The hunt begins now." The hunter returned to his vehicle without another word, driving away with unhurried confidence that unnerved Lucas more than any overt threat could have. Victor hadn't come to warn them. He had come to provoke, to confirm his suspicions, and Lucas, in his instinctive defense of Olivia, had given the hunter exactly what he wanted. He turned to find Olivia standing in the doorway, her face pale with concern. "I heard," she said simply. "All of it." Lucas joined her, guiding her back inside where they couldn't be observed. "He's more dangerous than I realized. His knowledge is extensive, and now he has confirmation of what we are. What will he do? Gather allies, prepare weapons, hunt us." Lucas ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "And with the council representatives lurking, we're trapped between two forces that want nothing more than to separate us." Olivia's expression hardened with resolve. "Then we fight, both threats, together." The simple declaration, so human in its defiance of overwhelming odds, struck Lucas with unexpected force. This was what he had walked away from 30 years ago. This unwavering courage, this stubborn refusal to surrender to fate or duty or tradition. Before he could respond, Noah came racing down the stairs, panic written across his face. "Mom, Mr. Gray, Sophia's gone." "What?" Lucas turned sharply. "What do you mean, gone? I told her to stay with you." "She was with me in my room, but then she said she heard something outside. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, she wasn't there. The window was open." Noah's words tumbled out in fear. "I think she ran away again." Lucas closed his eyes, expanding his senses beyond normal human range. Sophia's scent lingered in the inn, but was strongest near the back door. Fresh, recent, she had left within the last few minutes while he was confronting Victor. "Did she say anything?" he asked Noah. "Give any indication where she might go?" The boy hesitated. "She's been talking about a place in the woods, a man who might be able to help all of us stay together. She said she found him when she was lost before you found her." "A man in the woods?" Lucas exchanged alarmed glances with Olivia. "What man?" "She called him Elias," Noah replied. "Said he knows things about wolves and humans, magic things." Elias. The name tugged at Lucas's memory, ancient pack lore about a hermit who had lived in these mountains for generations. A mythical figure who appeared in stories told to pups who supposedly possessed knowledge beyond normal shifter abilities. Lucas had always dismissed such tales as folklore meant to entertain the young. "Where would she go to find this Elias?" Olivia asked Noah. "The old cabin near Shadow Lake," Noah said promptly, "the one that's supposed to be haunted. Sophia says that's where he lives, but no one can find him unless he wants to be found." Lucas was already moving toward the door. "Stay here," he instructed Olivia and Noah. "Lock the doors, don't open them for anyone but me." "I'm coming with you," Olivia insisted. "No." Lucas's tone brooked no argument. "Victor is out there, the council representatives too. It's too dangerous." "She's just a little girl, Lucas," Olivia said, her voice breaking slightly. "Alone in the forest with who knows what kind of stranger." "I'll find her," Lucas promised. "I'll bring her home safe." He left before Olivia could argue further, shifting to wolf form the moment he reached the tree line. In this shape, his senses expanded dramatically, Sophia's scent trail clear as a beacon leading into the heart of the forest. He followed at a run, covering ground with the tireless lope of a predator born to these woods, The trail led deeper into the mountains, away from the normal hiking paths, into territory even most locals avoided. Old-growth forest, untouched for centuries, where legends spoke of strange lights and voices in the night. Lucas had dismissed such stories as human imagination, but now, racing through these ancient trees with urgency driving him forward, he felt a presence watching him, judging him, testing his resolve. Sophia's scent grew stronger. She had passed this way recently, moving with purpose rather than fear. Not running away then, seeking something, someone. This mysterious Elias who might offer solutions to impossible problems. The trail ended abruptly at a small clearing. In its center stood a cabin that seemed to exist in defiance of time. Neither ancient nor new, but somehow both simultaneously. Smoke curled from the chimney, windows glowing with warm light despite the hour. And there, on the porch, sat Sophia in human form, talking animatedly with an elderly man whose appearance sent a shock of recognition through Lucas, despite never having seen him before. Tall and painfully thin, with copper hair gone mostly white, and eyes so green they seemed to glow in the forest shadows. He wore simple clothes that might have belonged to any century: wool trousers, a hand-knit sweater, leather boots well worn but meticulously maintained. His face was deeply lined with age, yet conveyed an impression of timelessness, as if the years had touched but not diminished him. Lucas shifted back to human form at the edge of the clearing, pulling on the clothes he had carried tied to his ankle. He approached slowly, caution warring with parental concern. "Sophia!" he called. His daughter looked up, guilt and determination warring in her expression. "Daddy! I found him! I found Elias!" The old man rose from his seat on the porch steps, studying Lucas with those unnerving green eyes. "Alpha Gray," he greeted him, his voice surprisingly strong and resonant for one so aged. "I've been expecting you, though not quite so soon." Lucas stopped at the foot of the steps, positioning himself between this stranger and his daughter. "Who are you? What do you want with my child?" "Peace, Alpha." Elias raised his hands in a placating gesture. "The girl sought me out, not the other way around. She believes I can help with your complicated situation." "And can you?" Lucas asked, skepticism evident. Elias smiled, the expression transforming his austere features. "That depends on what help you're willing to accept, on what price you're willing to pay." "Price?" Lucas tensed. "What kind of price?" "Nothing comes without cost," Elias replied simply. "Especially magic old enough to bridge the gap between wolf and human." Sophia stood, moving to Lucas's side. "He knows a way we can all stay together, Daddy. You, me, Olivia, and Noah. A way to make Olivia and Noah like us so they'd be safe from other wolves, so the council would accept them." Lucas stared at his daughter, understanding dawning. This had been her plan all along, not merely running away, but searching for a solution to the impossible conflict between his duty as Alpha and his growing feelings for Olivia, between the safety of the pack and the happiness of his child. "Such things are not done lightly," Lucas told her gently. "The transformation would kill them. It's one of our most ancient laws. The bite is deadly to humans. That's why we remain separate, why we protect our secrets so fiercely." "Usually, yes," Elias interjected, "but there are exceptions to every rule, ways around the most ancient of barriers, for those willing to pay the price." "What price?" Lucas demanded, his patience wearing thin. Elias studied him with those unsettling green eyes, seeing too much, knowing too much. For the woman, memory, the most precious memory she possesses. For the boy, time, years of childhood lost to the change coming too soon. For you, Alpha, control, the very thing you've built your life around, the armor you've used to keep the world at bay. The costs named sent a chill through Lucas. Too high, impossibly high, especially for Olivia and Noah, who had no say in this negotiation, who had not asked for the burden of lycanthropy. "This is madness," Lucas said, taking Sophia's hand. "We're leaving." "Daddy, no," Sophia protested. "Please just listen. Elias says there's another way. A ritual that would make Olivia and Noah immune to the killing effect of the bite. They could choose to become like us or stay human, but either way, they'd be safe with us. Lucas hesitated, torn between dismissing such claims as dangerous folklore and the desperate hope that a solution might exist, that there might be a path forward that didn't require sacrificing either his duty to the pack or his newfound connection with Olivia. Even if such magic existed, he said carefully, the risks would be enormous, and the price this man names is too high. I won't gamble with Olivia's memories or Noah's childhood. The price is negotiable, Elias offered, for the right motivation, for the right heart. What does that mean? Lucas demanded. The old man's expression grew serious. It means intention matters, Alpha. Why you seek this change. Is it selfish desire, fear of losing what you found, or something deeper, something worthy of the magic required to bridge worlds never meant to touch? Lucas started to respond, then stopped, considering the question with the gravity it deserved. Why did he want this impossible thing, this chance for Olivia and Noah to become part of his world? Was it merely to ease his own path? To avoid the difficult choice between duty and desire? Before he could formulate an answer, the sound of vehicles approaching broke the stillness of the forest. Multiple engines, moving with purpose up the old logging road that passed near the cabin. Too many to be coincidence. Too determined to be casual forest visitors. Hunters, Elias said quietly, led by the one who lost his mate to your brother's rage. They've tracked you here, Alpha, tracked your daughter, and they come prepared for war. Lucas moved instinctively, pulling Sophia behind him protectively. How many? 6 men, armed with weapons designed specifically for your kind. Elias's expression remained unnaturally calm. They mean to end the gray bloodline tonight, to finish what they believe your father started 30 years ago. We need to run, Lucas said to Sophia. Now, back to the inn, to Olivia and Noah. There isn't time, Elias countered. They've already surrounded the clearing. Your only safe path is inside. He gestured to the cabin door, which swung open without being touched. They cannot enter here, not without invitation. Lucas hesitated only a moment before guiding Sophia toward the door. Whatever strangeness surrounded this Elias, whatever magic he claimed to possess, he offered sanctuary when they needed it most. The alternative was facing 6 armed hunters with Sophia to protect and no pack to call upon. Inside, the cabin was larger than it appeared from outside. A single room with a massive stone hearth, bookshelves lining every wall, filled with volumes whose spines bore titles in languages Lucas didn't recognize. Herbs hung drying from the rafters, filling the air with pungent scents. A large table dominated the center of the room, its surface covered with maps, crystals, and instruments whose purpose Lucas couldn't begin to guess. "What is this place?" Sophia whispered, pressing close to Lucas's side. "A sanctuary," Elias replied, entering behind them and closing the door. "A place between worlds, safe from those who would harm you, at least temporarily." Through the windows, Lucas saw flashlight beams cutting through the gathering dusk. Victor's hunters, spreading out to surround the cabin. He caught fragments of voices, instructions being passed between the men. They knew their quarry was inside, were preparing to wait them out. How did they find us? Lucas wondered aloud. I was careful, covered our tracks. The girl was less cautious, Elias said, not unkindly. And Victor Stone has spent decades learning to track your kind. He's become quite proficient. Lucas moved to the window, assessing their options. 6 men, heavily armed, positioned to cover all exits. No way out without confrontation, without violence that would expose them even more completely. We're trapped, he admitted, turning back to Elias. Unless you truly have magic that can help us. The old man smiled, an expression both ancient and youthful. I have many kinds of magic, Alpha. The question is which you require. Escape? That I can provide easily enough. A doorway where none existed before. A path your hunters cannot follow. Or? Lucas sensed there was more being offered. Or transformation, Elias continued. Not just escape from this moment, but from the conflict that has defined your existence, the chance to create something new, something unprecedented. Sophia moved to the window, watching the hunters with a child's mixture of fear and fascination. "They want to hurt us because we're different," she said quietly, "because they're afraid of what they don't understand." "Yes," Elias agreed, "fear drives them, as it has driven your kind into isolation for generations, as it drove your father to execute his eldest son rather than risk exposure." "What are you offering exactly?" Lucas asked, suspicion growing. This man knew too much, understood too deeply. "A choice," Elias replied simply. "The same choice that has always stood before you, though you've refused to see it. Continue as you have been, alpha of a pack bound by traditions that strangle innovation and connection, or forge a new path, create a new kind of pack, one that bridges the gap between wolf and human, one that might, in time, heal the ancient wounds that keep your worlds separate." The offer hung in the air between them, tempting and terrifying in equal measure, to challenge traditions older than memory, to risk everything on an uncertain future, to place his faith in magic he didn't understand, offered by a man he didn't know. "What makes you think such a thing is possible?" Lucas asked. "Or that I'm the one to attempt it?" Elias moved to the table, placing his palm flat against one of the ancient maps. "Because you stand at a crossroads, Alpha Gray. Because in your heart, beneath the duty and discipline and control, burns a vision of what could be. A pack that values more than bloodlines. A world where your daughter isn't merely a vessel for continuing a legacy, but a person with dreams of her own." Outside, Victor's voice carried clearly through the night. "We know you're in there, Gray. You and the girl both. Come out now and we'll make it quick. Clean. Stay, and we'll burn you out." Sophia pressed closer to Lucas, fear evident in her eyes. "What do we do, Daddy?" Lucas looked from his daughter to Elias, decision crystallizing. "You said the price was negotiable. Name your terms for helping us escape tonight, for protecting Olivia and Noah from Victor and his hunters." Elias studied him thoughtfully. "Not the transformation, then? Just escape?" "One impossible thing at a time," Lucas replied. "First, we survive. Then we consider changing the world." The old man nodded slowly. "Wise, cautious, as befits an alpha." He moved to a shelf, selecting a small wooden box inlaid with silver. "For safe passage tonight, I ask only this, that you return to me when the immediate danger has passed, that you listen, truly listen, to what I offer before making your final choice." Lucas considered the surprisingly modest request. "Agreed. Now how do we get past 6 armed men without bloodshed?" Elias opened the box, removing a small object wrapped in cloth. "You walk out the back door," he said simply. "There is no back door," Lucas pointed out. "There is now." Elias unwrapped the cloth, revealing a key of strange design, neither modern nor antique, but somehow both simultaneously. He moved to the rear wall of the cabin, where no door had existed moments before, and inserted the key into a lock that appeared as he approached. The wall shimmered, stone and wood dissolving to reveal a doorway, opening onto the forest far from where Victor and his men waited. "This path will lead you directly to Pine Haven Inn," Elias explained. "The hunters will not see you leave, nor will they be able to track you. But be warned, this respite is temporary. Victor Stone will not abandon his hunt so easily." Lucas stared at the impossible doorway, at the familiar trees of the path that led to the inn now visible through an opening that shouldn't exist. "How?" "Magic, Alpha Gray." Elias smiled. "The first of many impossible things you'll need to accept if you truly wish to forge a new path." A shout from outside indicated the hunters were growing impatient. Lucas made his decision, guiding Sophia toward the miraculous door. "Thank you," he said to Elias. "We'll return as promised." The old man nodded. "I know you will. The crossroads demands it." Lucas and Sophia stepped through the doorway, which vanished behind them the moment they crossed its threshold. They found themselves on the familiar path that led directly to Pine Haven Inn, the hunters, and the mysterious cabin far behind them. "Daddy," Sophia whispered, clutching his hand tightly. "What is Elias? He's not just a human, is he?" Lucas looked back at the forest that had swallowed all evidence of their passage, of the cabin, of the old man with eyes too green to be natural. "No," he agreed quietly. "I don't believe he is." They walked in silence back to the inn, both lost in thoughts too complex to voice aloud. The security lights illuminated the building as they approached, warm and welcoming against the deepening night. Through the windows, Lucas could see Olivia pacing in the lobby, phone pressed to her ear, worry evident in every line of her body. Noah sat on the stairs, watching the door with obvious anxiety. The moment they entered, Olivia dropped the phone and rushed to them, gathering Sophia into a fierce embrace before Lucas could explain or apologize. "Thank God," she breathed. "We were so worried." Noah joined them, adjusting his glasses nervously. "Did you find Elias? Did he help?" "Yes to both questions," Sophia replied, extracting herself from Olivia's arms. "But we're not safe yet. The bad men found us. They're hunting us." Olivia's gaze met Lucas's over the children's heads, understanding the gravity of the situation without need for explanation. "What do we do?" Lucas considered their options, none of them good. Stay and face Victor's hunters, risking exposure and violence, flee to packed territory, abandoning the inn and the life Olivia had built. Or seek a third path, one offered by a mysterious figure whose motives remained unclear. "We prepare," he said finally. "We secure the inn tonight, and tomorrow we make decisions that will change all our lives, one way or another." Night settled fully over Pine Haven Inn, bringing with it a silence too complete to be natural. No crickets chirping, no owls calling. The forest beyond the inn holding its breath, as if waiting for the storm that would inevitably break over them all. Dawn painted the eastern sky in watercolor hues of pink and gold as Lucas stood watch on the inn's back porch. He hadn't slept, couldn't, with threats circling from all sides. Victor and his hunters somewhere in the darkness, waiting. The council representatives lurking in the shadows, patient but unyielding. And in the heart of the forest, a mysterious figure named Elias who offered impossible solutions with prices yet unknown. Inside, Olivia had finally succumbed to exhaustion, curled on the sofa where she had insisted on keeping vigil with him until her eyes had grown too heavy to remain open. The children slept upstairs, Sophia and Noah in adjacent rooms, doors left ajar so they could whisper to each other in the darkness, finding comfort in shared secrets and mutual protection. Lucas breathed deep, filtering the morning scents. Pine, earth, distant smoke from chimneys in town, no trace of hunters, no sign of council wolves, a temporary respite, but he knew better than to mistake it for peace. The door opened softly behind him. Olivia stepped out, wrapped in an old cardigan against the morning chill, 2 steaming mugs in her hands. She offered one to him without speaking, then joined him at the railing. "No sign of them?" she asked finally, voice husky with sleep. "Not yet." Lucas sipped the coffee, letting its warmth spread through him. "But they're out there. Victor won't abandon his hunt so easily." "And your council?" "Waiting, watching, reporting back everything they see." He turned to her, studying her profile in the growing light. "I've put you in danger, you and Noah both. I should never have stayed." Olivia's fingers found his on the railing, twining together with quiet defiance. "You didn't put us in danger, Lucas. Life did that the moment Noah found Sophia in the woods. The moment your paths crossed with ours again." She looked up at him, her dark eyes steady and unafraid. "Some things are worth the risk." The simple declaration, delivered with absolute conviction, struck Lucas with physical force. Worth the risk. When had he last believed anything was worth risking safety, security, the carefully constructed order he had maintained for 30 years? "We need to talk about Elias," he said, changing the subject before emotion overwhelmed his carefully maintained control. "About what he offered." Olivia nodded, unsurprised. "Noah told me. A way for humans to become like you,
to survive the transformation that would normally kill us. It's dangerous, perhaps impossible, and the price he names—" Lucas shook his head. "Your most precious memory, Noah's childhood, my control. Too high a cost for an uncertain outcome." "What if we could negotiate different terms?" Olivia asked. "You said this Elias seemed open to that he wanted to see you again." Lucas studied her face, finding no fear there, only determination, only the courage that had always defined her, even as a girl of 18 facing down the mysteries of the world with unflinching resolve. "You would consider it?" he asked, voice rough with disbelief. "Becoming like me? Like us?" "I would consider anything that keeps my son safe, that gives us a chance at the life we should have had 30 years ago." Olivia's gaze held his, unflinching. "I'm not that terrified girl anymore, Lucas. I've built a life from the ashes you left behind. I've raised a child alone. I've faced every challenge this world has thrown at me." "And now you would face becoming something other than human? For what? For me?" "For us," she corrected gently. "For the family we could be. For the future we might still have, if we're brave enough to reach for it." The word family hung between them, weighted with possibility and pain in equal measure. Lucas had built his life around duty to the pack, around bloodlines and tradition and power, had surrendered the possibility of true connection in service to ancient laws and expectations, had told himself it was necessary, inevitable, the price of leadership. Yet here stood Olivia, offering another vision, another possibility, a family built on choice rather than obligation, on love rather than lineage. "There's something else we need to discuss," Lucas said, voice lowering. "Something Elias mentioned that I haven't told you yet." Olivia waited, patient but alert to the gravity in his tone. He spoke of a crossroads, of a choice between continuing as alpha of a pack bound by tradition or forging a new path, creating a new kind of pack that bridges the gap between wolf and human. "What does that mean exactly?" Lucas turned to face the forest, the territory that had been his family's domain for generations. "It means challenging everything I've built my life around, everything my father and his father before him believed in, the separation between our kinds, the purity of bloodlines, the traditions that have kept us hidden and safe for centuries. For the chance at something better," Olivia added softly, "something that might heal ancient wounds," as he put it. Lucas nodded, the weight of possibility pressing down on him. To imagine a different way forward, a pack that valued more than strength and bloodlines, that might welcome humans who chose to join their world rather than fearing them as threats to be avoided or eliminated. "It would be dangerous," he said finally, "not just from Victor and his hunters, but from my own kind. The Council would see it as heresy, as threat to everything they believe keeps us safe." "When has safety ever been enough?" Olivia challenged. "When has merely surviving been a life worth living?" The question echoed his daughter's words from days earlier. The same fundamental challenge to the foundations upon which he had built his existence as Alpha. Had he been leading, truly leading, these past 30 years? Or merely maintaining, preserving a system that slowly suffocated innovation, connection, growth? "We should wake the children," Lucas said finally. "There are decisions to be made that affect us all." They found Noah and Sophia already awake, huddled at the kitchen table over bowls of cereal, heads bent close together in intense discussion that ceased abruptly when the adults entered. Lucas recognized the conspiratorial glances exchanged between them. More secrets, more plans hatched by children too clever for their own good. "Whatever you two are plotting, it stops now," he said firmly. "We have serious matters to discuss." "About Elias?" Sophia asked eagerly. "About his magic?" "Among other things." Lucas took a seat across from the children, Olivia beside him. "First, the situation has become more dangerous. Victor Stone and his hunters know where we are. They will come for us, likely soon." "Are we leaving?" Noah's voice trembled slightly, though he tried to hide it. "Running away?" "No,"
Lucas and Olivia answered simultaneously, then exchanged surprised glances at their unity. "This is our home," Olivia continued. "We won't be driven from it by fear or threats." "But we need to be prepared," Lucas added, "which brings us to Elias and his offer." Sophia leaned forward eagerly. "He can make Olivia and Noah like us, so they'd be pack for real." "It's not that simple," Lucas cautioned. "What he's proposing goes against our most ancient laws. The barrier between human and wolf exists for a reason. The transformation is normally fatal to humans." "But Elias says it doesn't have to be," Noah interjected. "He says there's magic that can change that." "At a price," Lucas reminded them. "Everything has a price, especially magic." Olivia placed her hand over his on the table, a gesture of solidarity that did not go unnoticed by the children. "We need to hear more about what this Elias is offering, about the risks involved, the process, what it would mean for all of us." "And the council?" Sophia asked, her young face showing understanding beyond her years. "What will they do if you create a new kind of pack? If you challenge the old ways?" Lucas met his daughter's gaze, seeing there the future he had never allowed himself to imagine. A leader who questioned, who innovated, who saw beyond the constraints of tradition to possibilities yet unrealized. "They will resist," he acknowledged honestly. "They may even attempt to remove me as alpha, to punish what they see as betrayal of our most sacred laws." "They'd have to get through us first," Noah declared with childish bravado that nonetheless warmed Lucas's heart. "Indeed," Lucas agreed, allowing a small smile. "But before we challenge ancient traditions or face hunters in the forest, we need more information. I promised Elias we would return to hear his offer in full, to understand exactly what magic he claims to possess and how it might help us." "When do we go?" Sophia asked. "Not we," Lucas corrected. "I will go alone. It's too dangerous for you children to be in the forest with Victor hunting us, and Olivia needs to stay to manage the inn, to maintain normalcy as much as possible." Protests erupted from all three, a chorus of objections that Lucas silenced with a raised hand, alpha authority momentarily asserting itself. "This isn't a democracy," he said firmly. "My priority is keeping all of you safe while I gather the information we need to make decisions that will affect all our futures." Surprisingly, it was Noah who spoke up, his voice quiet but determined. "With respect, Mr. Gray, you're wrong." Lucas's eyebrows rose. Few challenged an alpha directly, especially not a human child of 10. "What Sophia says about the old wolves at your pack is true," Noah continued, adjusting his glasses nervously but pressing on. "They don't listen to kids. They don't care what we think or what we want. They just decide things for us because we're young." "Noah," Olivia began, but the boy shook his head. "You always say age doesn't determine wisdom, Mom, that sometimes kids see things more clearly because we're not stuck in old patterns of thinking." Lucas studied the boy, impressed despite himself. Noah had Olivia's backbone, her unwillingness to be dismissed or overlooked. And there was truth in his words, uncomfortable as it might be to acknowledge. "What would you propose instead?" Lucas asked, genuinely curious. "We go together," Noah said simply. "All of us. So everyone hears exactly the same information. So no one can claim they didn't understand the choices or the risks. So it's really a decision we make as a—" He hesitated, then finished, "as a family." The word hung in the air between them, potent with possibility. A family. Not a pack defined by bloodlines and hierarchy. Not merely humans coexisting with wolves. Something new. Something created by choice rather than birth. Lucas looked to Olivia, finding his own conflicted emotions mirrored in her expression. Pride in Noah's courage, fear for his safety, hope for what might be possible if they dared reach for it. "It would be dangerous," Lucas cautioned. "Victor is watching the forest paths, and my own kind may be observing as well." "So we go at night," Sophia suggested eagerly. "I can guide us in the dark. I know a secret path through the woods that the hunters won't know about. And if we're all together, we can protect each other," Noah added. Lucas looked to Olivia, the decision ultimately hers where Noah was concerned. She studied her son for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "He's right. We should hear this together. Make this choice together. If we're truly considering becoming something more than we are now, it shouldn't begin with separation and secrets." And so the decision was made. They would visit Elias that night, under cover of darkness, guided by Sophia's knowledge of the forest paths. They would hear his offer in full, understand the magic he claimed could transform humans safely into wolves, learn the price required for such power. Then they would choose, together, the path forward. Whether to remain as they were, separate species cautiously building connection, or to forge something new, something unprecedented, something that might change not just their lives, but the future of both their kinds. As darkness fell over Pine Haven, the four prepared to depart. Lucas insisted they dress warmly, in dark colors that would blend with the forest shadows. Sophia, excited by the adventure despite the danger, led them through rarely used staff passages to exit the inn without being observed from the front, where Lucas had noted a vehicle parked with suspicious stillness for several hours. "Victor's scouts," he murmured to Olivia as they slipped into the tree line, "watching the main entrances." "Will they follow?" she asked, keeping her voice low. "Not immediately. I've laid false trails throughout the day, circling the property, doubling back. It will take time for them to determine which is genuine." They moved through the forest with careful quiet, Sophia leading the way with confidence, born of familiarity with the terrain. Noah followed close behind, his glasses occasionally catching moonlight in brief silver flashes. Olivia and Lucas brought up the rear, alert to any sound of pursuit. The forest grew darker, older as they progressed. Ancient trees towered overhead, their massive trunks creating cathedral-like spaces between them. The ordinary sounds of woodland night fell away, replaced by an expectant silence that pressed against their ears like physical pressure. "We're getting close," Sophia whispered, though there was no need for quiet in the empty forest. Something about this place demanded reverence, respect. They crested a small rise, and there in the valley below stood the cabin, exactly as Lucas remembered it, neither ancient nor new, but somehow both simultaneously. Light glowed in the windows, warm and welcoming against the forest darkness. Smoke curled from the chimney into the star-filled sky. As they approached, the door swung open. Elias stood silhouetted against the golden light from within, tall and impossibly thin, those unnaturally green eyes surveying them with something like approval. "The Alpha returns," he said, his resonant voice carrying clearly in the night air. "And he brings his family. Good. Very good." Lucas tensed slightly at the presumption in the words, but couldn't deny their truth. Family. That's what they had become, regardless of blood or species or the laws that had kept their kinds separate for generations. "We've come to hear your offer," Lucas said formally, "to understand what you propose and at what cost." "Enter freely," Elias replied, stepping aside to welcome them. "There is much to discuss before the night grows old." Inside, the cabin remained as Lucas remembered, larger than its exterior suggested, filled with books and artifacts whose purpose he couldn't begin to guess. The massive hearth burned with flames that cast dancing shadows across the walls. The central table had been cleared of its maps and instruments, now bearing simple refreshments, a pot of tea, cups, plates of bread, and honey. "Please be seated," Elias gestured to chairs that seemed to appear around the table as needed. The forest night grows chill, and warm drinks make difficult conversations easier. They arranged themselves around the table, the children wide-eyed with curiosity, Olivia composed but alert, Lucas maintaining the watchful tension of Alpha even in this strange sanctuary. "You claim to possess magic that can transform humans safely into wolves," Lucas began without preamble. "Magic that would allow Olivia and Noah to become part of my world, without the fatal consequences our laws have always maintained are inevitable." "Yes," Elias confirmed simply, pouring tea with precise movements of his ancient hands. "A ritual older than your pack laws, older than the division between your kinds." How is that possible? Olivia asked, accepting a steaming cup with murmured thanks. If the transformation is fatal to humans, how could any ritual change that biological reality? Elias smiled, pleased by the direct question. Because, my dear, it was not always so. In the earliest days, when the first shifters emerged from human stock, the transition was natural, possible for any with the courage to undergo it. The barrier between your kinds is not biological at all, but magical. A protection put in place during ancient wars when humans sought to eliminate the wolf kind they feared, and wolves sought to create armies of their own kind to defend themselves. You're saying someone deliberately created the fatal reaction? Lucas asked, skepticism evident. That it's not natural at all? Precisely. Elias nodded. A magical barrier erected to keep the species separate after too much blood had been spilled on both sides, to ensure peace through forced separation. Sophia leaned forward, fascination overcoming her usual caution. So your ritual would remove this barrier? Make it safe for humans to become wolves again? For specific humans, yes. Elias's gaze moved to Olivia and Noah. Those who freely choose the transformation, who enter it with full understanding and acceptance of what it means to become other than purely human. And the price for this ritual? Lucas pressed. You spoke of memory, of childhood, of control, costs too high for what you offer. Did I? Elias smiled enigmatically. Or perhaps I named what you feared to lose, what you valued most, to test your resolve. Noah adjusted his glasses, studying the old man with the direct gaze of childhood. Are you saying the price might be different for each person, based on what they care about most? Clever child, Elias acknowledged with a slight bow of his head. Yes, magic responds to intention, to heart, to the deepest truths we carry within us. The price is not fixed but fluid, determined by why one seeks the power offered. And what would be our price? Olivia asked directly. If Noah and I chose to undergo this ritual, to become like Lucas and Sophia? Elias studied her for a long moment, those unsettling green eyes seeing far more than physical appearance. For you, Olivia Reed, the price would be certainty, the comfortable boundaries of human existence, the known world you have carefully built around yourself and your son. And for Noah? Olivia pressed, maternal concern evident. For the boy, innocence. Elias's gaze shifted to Noah. The transformation would bring knowledge no child should bear, understanding of the darkness in the world, in human hearts, in himself. Lucas leaned forward, alpha protectiveness rising. That's too high a price for a child of 10. Is it? Elias challenged gently. Have you asked him? Or are you deciding for him, as the council decides for Sophia, as your father decided for you? The rebuke struck home. Lucas sat back, momentarily silenced by the uncomfortable parallel drawn between his protective instinct and the very traditions he had begun to question. What about Lucas? Sophia asked, deflecting attention from her father's discomfort. What would he have to give up? Ah, Elias turned to Lucas, expression grave. For the Alpha, the price is perhaps heaviest of all. To create something new, something that bridges worlds long separated, requires sacrifice of the old, of tradition, of certainty, of the very foundation upon which you have built your identity for 30 years. My position as Alpha, Lucas realized. My authority over the pack. Not necessarily, Elias corrected, but rather your conception of what Alpha means, the power you have wielded without question, the absolute authority, the isolation of leadership. The price named struck Lucas as both terrible and necessary, to surrender the certainty that had defined him since Gabriel's death, the rigid adherence to tradition that had guided every decision, the distance he had maintained even from his own daughter, believing it necessary to leadership. And for me? Sophia asked quietly. What would I pay for this new pack you speak of? Elias's expression softened as he regarded the young girl. For you, little one, the price is already being paid. The courage to run when staying would have broken you. The wisdom to seek help, rather than suffer in silence. The love that drove you to find this human boy and his mother, recognizing in them the family your heart needed. Sophia's eyes widened with surprise, then understanding. You mean I started paying the price when I ran away? Sometimes the greatest magic begins with the simplest choice, Elias confirmed. The first step on a path that will transform not just yourself, but the world around you. A log settled in the fireplace, sending sparks up the chimney in a momentary flurry of light. In that illumination, Lucas saw his companions with sudden clarity. Sophia, no longer merely his daughter, but a person in her own right, making choices that had set all this in motion. Noah, serious beyond his years, facing adult decisions with courage few grown humans could match. Olivia, the woman he had left behind, now offering to transform her very nature for the chance at something they had been denied decades ago. You speak of a new kind of pack, Lucas said slowly. One that bridges human and wolf, one that challenges traditions older than memory. What would that mean exactly? It would mean leadership based on more than bloodline or strength, Elias replied. A community that values human perspective alongside wolf instinct, that finds strength in diversity rather than purity, that might, in time, heal the ancient wounds that have kept your kind's enemies or strangers for too long. And you believe I could create such a thing? Lucas asked, disbelief evident. That the council would allow it? The council fears what it does not understand, Elias countered. As all beings do. But fear can be overcome by example, by demonstration that another way is possible, by proof that strength comes in many forms, not just the traditional power they have always valued. It would mean war, Lucas said flatly. Civil war within the pack. Many would resist such changes, would see them as threat to everything they believe keeps us safe. Perhaps, Elias acknowledged, or perhaps they would see what you are only beginning to glimpse yourself. That isolation has weakened the pack over generations. That new blood, new perspectives, might strengthen what tradition alone cannot preserve. The possibilities stretched before Lucas like a path into unknown territory, dangerous, uncertain, yet somehow compelling in ways he couldn't fully articulate. A different kind of leadership than the iron control his father had wielded, than he himself had maintained for 30 years. And Victor Stone? Olivia asked, practical concerns reasserting themselves. His hunters? They're still out there, still determined to destroy Lucas and Sophia. Would this transformation protect us from them? No, Elias replied honestly. That threat remains regardless of your choice here tonight. The hunter's hatred runs too deep to be swayed by new understanding. He will not rest until he has vengeance for his mate's death, until the gray bloodline ends as his did 30 years ago. Lucas's jaw tightened. Always back to that night, to Gabriel's loss of control, to blood spilled that could never be reclaimed. Then what do we gain by this ritual? He challenged. If the danger remains, if the council will resist, what purpose does transformation serve? Choice, Elias said simply. The freedom to determine your own future, rather than remain bound by decisions made in ancient days by those long dead. The chance to create something new, something that might in time change more than just your small circle. I want to do it, Noah said suddenly, his young voice steady despite the enormity of what he proposed. I want to be like Sophia, like Mr. Gray. I want to be part of their pack. Noah, Olivia began, maternal concern evident. I know what it means, Mom, he insisted. I know it would change everything, that I'd be different forever, that I'd know things kids shouldn't have to know. He looked up at her, wisdom beyond his years in his solemn gaze. But I already know those things. I've known since Dad left before I was born, since we had to leave our home and start over here, since Tommy and his friends decided I was someone they could hurt because I was different. Olivia's expression crumpled slightly, pain at her son's lost innocence evident. You're only 10, Noah, too young for such a permanent choice. The ritual doesn't require immediate transformation, Elias interjected gently. only the breaking of the barrier that makes the bite fatal. Young Noah could wait until he reaches maturity to complete the change, if that is his choice. To live as human until he is ready for what becoming wolf would mean. This revelation shifted the dynamic in the room. Lucas could see Olivia processing the implications, the possibility that Noah might have this option held in reserve rather than exercised immediately, a choice rather than an obligation. "And me?" she asked, turning to Elias. "Would I also have this choice, to undergo the ritual but delay the actual transformation?" "Yes," Elias confirmed, "though the ritual itself would change you somewhat, make you more attuned to wolf nature, more sensitive to the moon's pull, more aware of the wild that exists in all beings, human and animal alike. But I wouldn't have to become a wolf immediately? Not until you chose to complete the transformation, no." Lucas watched Olivia consider this, seeing the careful calculation in her expression, the weighing of risks against potential rewards, the mother's concern for her child balanced against the woman's desire for a future with the man she had never stopped loving, despite 30 years of separation and pain. "I believe we should do this," she said finally, meeting Lucas's gaze across the table. "If it gives Noah the option when he's older, if it gives us the chance to face these threats together, as equals, as family." "Olivia," Lucas began, still uncertain despite the longing her words awakened. "The risks are worth taking," she finished for him, "for the chance at the life we should have had, the family we might still create." "Family," Sophia echoed, reaching for Noah's hand across the table. "Real pack, not just because we have to be, but because we choose to be." Lucas looked at the three faces watching him with hope and determination. His daughter, no longer merely legacy, but person. This boy who had shown more courage than many grown wolves he had known. This woman who had never stopped haunting his dreams, who offered now to change her very nature for the chance at a shared future. "What would this ritual involve?" he asked Elias, decision crystallizing. "What must we do?" The old man rose, moving to the shelves that lined the cabin walls. Elements from both worlds, blood freely given, moon power at its height, and courage, always courage, to face transformation, not knowing exactly what you might become. As Elias gathered mysterious ingredients, explaining the ritual in terms both arcane and practical, a sound from outside the cabin froze them all. A vehicle, engine cut abruptly at some distance, voices carrying on the night air, footsteps moving with purpose through the forest. "Hunters," Lucas growled, rising to his feet. "Victor." "How could they have found us?" Olivia asked, fear evident for the first time. "They followed your trail," Elias said calmly, continuing his preparations without apparent concern. "Or perhaps they have been watching this cabin for some time, knowing I offer sanctuary to those of wolf kind when needed." "We need to leave," Lucas decided, "now, before they surround us." "There is no escape this time," Elias countered. "They have come prepared, with weapons and numbers that even an alpha would struggle to overcome, especially with children to protect." "Then what do you suggest?" Lucas demanded, frustration mounting. "That we wait here to be slaughtered?" "I suggest," Elias said with maddening calm, "that you consider carefully what you are willing to sacrifice for those you love, what price you would pay not just for transformation, but for survival itself." The cryptic response infuriated Lucas, but before he could demand clarification, the cabin door burst open. Noah, who had moved to the window to observe the approaching hunters, was silhouetted for one terrible moment against the night beyond. Then hands reached in, grabbing the boy with brutal efficiency, dragging him outside before any of them could react. Olivia's scream tore through the cabin as she lunged toward the door. Lucas caught her, holding her back from rushing headlong into certain danger. "Let me go!" she cried, struggling against his iron grip. "They have my son." "And they'll have you too if you run out there," Lucas said grimly. "We need a plan, not blind reaction." Victor Stone's voice called from the darkness beyond the cabin door. "Send out the wolves, Mrs. Reed, the girl and her father. Do that, and your boy goes free. Refuse, and, well, The threat remained unspoken but clear. "You can't trust him," Lucas told Olivia, still restraining her desperate movements toward the door. "The moment we step outside, he'll kill us all, Noah included." "He's my son!" Olivia sobbed, fight draining from her. "My child! I can't just—"
"And I won't let you sacrifice yourself for nothing," Lucas insisted. He turned to Elias, who continued his methodical preparations despite the crisis unfolding. "Can your magic help us? Create another door? A way out they won't expect?" The old man looked up, those unsettling green eyes luminous in the firelight. "Magic always has a price, Alpha Gray. I ask again, what are you willing to sacrifice, not just for transformation, but for the lives of those you love?" Understanding dawned. This was the true test, not the ritual itself, but the moment of crisis that revealed what mattered most, what each of them valued above all else. "Anything," Lucas said without hesitation. "My position, my power, my life if necessary, whatever it takes to save them." Elias nodded, satisfaction evident. "And you, Olivia Reed? What would you sacrifice for your son? For the wolf you have loved since childhood?" "Everything," she answered, voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "I'd become anything, give anything to save Noah, to save all of us." "And you, young Sophia?" Elias turned to the girl who stood frozen with fear and anger. "What would you give for this human boy who showed you kindness when you had none? For these adults who might create the family you've always wanted?" Sophia straightened, chin lifting with determination that mirrored her father's. "Whatever it takes. Noah's my friend, my pack, and pack protects its own." Elias smiled, an expression both ancient and youthful. "Well answered, all of you. Now we begin." He moved with sudden speed for one so aged, gathering the ingredients he had prepared, mixing them in a stone bowl with practiced efficiency. Outside, Victor called again, impatience growing in his voice. The sound of Noah's frightened protest carried clearly to their ears, spurring Elias to work faster. "Blood," he said, extending a small silver knife to Lucas. "Freely given from Alpha and Child." Lucas took the blade without hesitation, slicing his palm and allowing the blood to drip into the mixture. Sophia did the same, wincing, but making no sound as the blade cut her skin. "And yours," Elias instructed Olivia. "The maternal bond, the human heart that would become other than it was born to be." Olivia accepted the knife, determination replacing fear as she added her blood to the bowl. Elias stirred the mixture 3 times Diosel, 3 times Widdershins, murmuring words in a language none of them recognized. The contents began to glow with soft blue light that illuminated the cabin more brightly than the fire. "Drink," he commanded, offering the bowl first to Olivia, "with full understanding that what you were will be forever changed, that humanity, once surrendered, can never be fully reclaimed." Olivia took the bowl in steady hands, meeting Lucas's gaze over its rim. "For Noah," she said, "for us, for the family we should have been." She drank deeply, then passed the bowl to Sophia, who sipped without hesitation. Finally, it came to Lucas. He stared into the luminous mixture, seeing his reflection distorted by the strange light. Alpha, leader, enforcer of traditions older than memory, all that he had been, all that he must now transform if they were to survive. "For a new way forward," he murmured, and drained the bowl. The effect was instantaneous. Power surged through him, different from anything he had experienced in 30 years as Alpha. Not the familiar strength of Wolf, not the control he had cultivated with such care, but something older, wilder, more primal than even his shifter nature. Beside him, Olivia gasped, hands flying to her throat as the magic took hold. Her eyes widened with shock, then understanding, then fierce joy as senses expanded beyond human limitation. Scents, sounds, the heartbeats of those around her suddenly as clear as spoken words. Sophia shifted smoothly to wolf form, then back to human, the transformation more fluid than ever before.
"I feel it," she whispered, wonder in her voice. "The magic, changing us, connecting us." "Now we act," Elias announced, moving to the door. "Together, as the pack you have chosen to become." He opened the cabin door wide, revealing Victor and his hunters arrayed in the clearing beyond. 6 men, heavily armed, faces hard with purpose and hatred. And there, held roughly by Victor himself, Noah pale with fear, but unharmed. "Let the boy go, Stone," Lucas called, stepping onto the porch. "Your quarrel is with me, has always been with me." "Your brother killed my wife," Victor snarled. "Your father executed him without human justice. Your kind has lived outside our laws for too long. Tonight, it ends." "It can end without more bloodshed," Lucas offered, descending the steps to stand in the clearing, fully exposed, deliberately vulnerable. "Let the boy go. Take me instead." Victor laughed harshly. "Noble, Alpha, but I didn't wait 30 years for half measures. The gray bloodline ends tonight, all of it." He raised his rifle one-handed, the other still restraining Noah. The boy struggled against his grip, fear giving way to anger. "Let me go," he shouted. "You're hurting me." "Quiet, boy," Victor snapped. "Your mother made her choice when she allied with these monsters, when she chose beasts over her own kind." "They're not monsters," Noah protested, still struggling. "They're my family." The declaration, delivered with absolute conviction, pierced Lucas to his core. Family, not pack, not alpha and subordinates. Family chosen and created through love, rather than obligation or bloodline. In that moment of realization, several things happened simultaneously. Noah, with desperate strength born of fear and fury, broke free from Victor's grip. Olivia, experiencing the first manifestation of her transformed senses, moved with inhuman speed to pull her son to safety. And Lucas, drawing on power older than his alpha authority, shifted to a form larger and more powerful than any he had manifested before. Not merely wolf, something ancient, primal. The original shifter form before centuries of tradition had constrained its expression. Massive, silver-streaked, eyes glowing with power that had nothing to do with alpha status and everything to do with the primal bond between man and wolf at the dawn of their shared history. Victor fired, the shot going wide as shock at Lucas's transformation threw off his aim. The other hunters scattered, some firing wildly into the night, others retreating toward their vehicles. Only Victor stood his ground, reloading with grim determination, hatred overcoming fear. "Run!" Lucas growled, the words somehow understandable, despite his transformed vocal cords. "Last chance, Stone." "Never," Victor spat, raising the rifle again. "Not until every last one of your kind is dead." Before he could fire, Sophia shifted to her wolf form, darting between the hunters with speed that made her nearly invisible in the darkness. She nipped at legs, dodged bullets, created confusion that prevented any coordinated attack. And there was Olivia, eyes glowing amber with newly awakened power, moving Noah to safety while simultaneously exhibiting strength and speed no human could match. Not fully transformed to wolf, but no longer merely human. Something in between. Something new. Lucas lunged at Victor, massive jaws closing around the rifle barrel, wrenching it from the hunter's grasp with contemptuous ease. The ancient weapon, loaded with silver bullets crafted specifically for wolfkind, went flying into the underbrush. "It's over, Stone," Lucas growled, shifting partially back to human form, enough to speak clearly while maintaining the power of his transformed state. "Leave now. Take your hunters. Never return to these mountains." Victor stared at him with undiluted hatred. "You think this changes anything? You think I won't gather more men, better weapons? This isn't over, Gray. Not while you still breathe." "Perhaps not," Lucas acknowledged. "But tonight, you leave with your life. A mercy your kind has rarely shown mine." For a moment, it seemed Victor might continue his suicidal attack despite being disarmed. Then something shifted in his expression. Not acceptance, not surrender, but calculation. The hunter's instinct to retreat now, to plan better, to return when the odds favored him. "This isn't finished," he promised, backing away toward the trees where his men had already fled. "Not by a long shot." "No," Lucas agreed, But the next time you come for my family, you'll find more than you bargained for." Family. The word felt right in ways Pac never had. He looked to where Olivia stood with Noah and Sophia, the three of them watching the confrontation with expressions that mixed fear and hope in equal measure. His family. Chosen rather than merely inherited, created through love rather than obligation. Victor disappeared into the forest, the sound of vehicles starting and departing confirming his temporary retreat. Lucas turned back to the cabin where Elias stood observing from the porch, satisfaction evident in his ancient face. "Well done, Alpha," the old man said softly. "The first test passed, the first step taken on a new path." "The ritual," Lucas said, moving to rejoin his family. "Is it complete? Are they protected now from the fatal effects of transformation?" "The barrier is broken," Elias confirmed. "The ancient magic that separated your kinds no longer applies to them. They may complete this change to wolf form whenever they choose, or remain in this intermediate state indefinitely." Lucas looked at Olivia, seeing the subtle changes in her. The amber glow that occasionally flashed in her eyes when emotion ran strong. The heightened awareness evident in the way she scanned their surroundings, processed scents and sounds no human should detect. Not fully wolf, but no longer merely human. "How do you feel?" he asked, concern tempering his relief at their escape. "Alive," she answered, echoing words spoken days ago on the inn's porch. "More alive than I've been in 30 years. Noah moved to Lucas's side, studying him with fascination. "You were huge," the boy said with undisguised admiration. "Bigger than any wolf I've ever seen pictures of. Is that what I'll look like someday?" "I don't know," Lucas admitted, surprised to find that uncertainty didn't trouble him as it once would have. "What I became tonight, it wasn't traditional pack form. It was something older, something I didn't know was possible until the moment it happened." "The original shifter form," Elias explained, joining them in the clearing. Before centuries of tradition constrained its expression. Before Alpha meant merely the strongest wolf rather than the one who could lead in times of greatest need. "But the Council," Sophia said, shifting back to human form, her face worried despite their victory. "They'll never accept this. Never allow a human to become wolf, even with magic making it safe. They'll try to stop us, to punish you for breaking our most sacred laws." "Let them try," Lucas said, a new certainty filling him. Not the rigid control he had maintained for decades, but something more flexible, more adaptive, stronger because it bent rather than broke under pressure. "We'll face them together, show them another way is possible. That strength comes in many forms, not just the traditions they've always valued." He looked at the small group gathered around him. His daughter, her face alight with hope for the first time since she'd fled the pack's restrictive expectations. Noah, serious and determined beyond his years, already showing the qualities that would make him a valuable member of this new kind of pack. Olivia, transformed yet still herself, the woman he had never stopped loving despite 30 years of separation, and Elias, ancient and mysterious, who had set them on this path with magic older than pack law, who had shown them possibilities beyond the rigid separation of human and wolf, who had given them the tools to create something unprecedented, something that might, in time, heal wounds older than memory. "What happens now?" Olivia asked, her hand finding Lucas's in the darkness. "Victor will return. The council will come for you. We've won tonight, but the war has just begun." "Now," Lucas said, certainty filling him, "we build something new, together. A pack defined by choice rather than birth, by love rather than obligation." He looked at each of them in turn, seeing not subordinates but family, not followers but partners in the path ahead. "A family," Noah said, the simple word containing worlds of meaning. "Yes," Lucas agreed, the last of his rigid alpha certainty falling away, replaced by something more flexible, more human, and paradoxically, stronger. A family, and family protects its own. They stood together in the moonlit clearing, bound not by ancient law or tradition, but by choice, by love, by the courage to imagine a different future than the one prescribed by those long dead, by the willingness to risk everything for the chance to create something new, a new kind of pack, a new kind of family, a new way forward for both their kinds, the first step on a path that would transform not just themselves, but the world around them.